A lot of concern, Anderson, nervousness that this could be the end of a career that has spanned decades here in Texas, that led to Cornyn holding a Senate seat since 2002, ascending to the top ranks of the Senate Republican leadership, but could see it come to an abrupt halt, all in large part because of the president's late decision to get behind Ken Paxton in this critical race that could determine the next Senate majority. I talked to Senator Cornyn earlier today, and he bluntly warned Republicans against nominating Paxton, continuing to attack him up until the final days of the campaign. I asked him, why not back off these attacks, given that Paxton himself has called on the party to unite, called on the party to have a positive message and to focus on James Tallarico instead. But Cornyn defended his decision to continue to go negative, saying that voters deserve to hold Paxton accountable.
It's just emboldened him to the point of recklessness and now to the point of self-destructiveness, especially with regard to his own family. I just think you cannot trust Ken Paxton.
Trump has had similar allegations against him. Do you have the same concerns about Trump?
I think it's a totally different scenario, and I'm running against Ken Paxton. And so that's why we're making the case, because I think voters have a right to know.
Yeah, the attacks that you have waged against him, is he going to be damaged in November if he's a nominee?
Well, I have every confidence that the Democrats would be able to find that same information and use it. But I think it's important to the electorate to be informed, well informed.
This is a bad night for America. You have a good man running against a bad man, and the bad man won. And just as a parent, that's tough. I mean,
races and Senate races, this is his scorecard, okay? He has endorsed 8 governors. Now, some of these races weren't real close, didn't have a lot of competition, but some of them did. I mean, we saw what happened in Louisiana, the primary with Bill Cassidy. We saw what happened a week ago tonight with Tom Massey in Kentucky. And now we're seeing it again tonight, okay, in Texas. Governor level, Trump endorsed 8. He won 8 times. U.S. House, 101 endorsed. He won 101 endorsed in the House, and he won 101. Let me put on the pencil right here and show you this. U.S. Senate, Sean, he has endorsed 8 candidates. And prior to tonight, he had won 8 times. And now you can take the endorsement from 8 to 9 endorsed, and from 8 to 9 winner. Ken Paxton was outspent 9-1. Got the endorsement from Trump, got the endorsement of Wesley Hunt, the congressman who got knocked out 2.5 months ago. And now we got the setup in Paxton of Tallarico. Many Republicans felt if John Cornyn could win tonight, that he could be an easy winner over Tallarico. We'll never know that now. And a lot of Republicans felt that they could save a lot of money too if Cornyn won. But that did not happen. Here's what will happen, Sean, in November. In Texas, probably the most expensive Senate race that we have seen ever. I mean, we were looking at some of the numbers.
Look, the bottom line is this. If Donald Trump wants you to be the nominee of the Republican Party for virtually any office, he can will it into existence. And that has happened again tonight in Texas. There's also an attorney general campaign going on underneath this. I don't think we've called it yet, but there's a strong undercurrent of who's for Trump and who isn't in that race. And it looks like the more Trump-aligned candidate is going to win down there as well. So, you know, we're learning this lesson over and over again. Indiana, Louisiana, Kentucky, where I live, and now Texas, over and over again, we're learning. If Donald Trump wants you to have the party's nomination, the voters look at that and say, we trust the president's judgment and we'll give it to you.
117-0. Not UCLA, not Alabama. Nobody has run up, not the Lakers, nobody has run up 117 wins and no losses. President Trump took the victory lap. He actually posted it. You can do the math. 101, 9, that's 110, and then 8, 118-0. So you're probably scratching your head like me. And by the way, the numbers yesterday were amazing in terms of how many votes Ken Paxton actually got. And if you combine that with Cornyn's, it was way more Republicans voted than Democrats for Tallarico. And so what does that tell you? What it should tell you is, I don't know, they said that Mark Twain actually never said the words, but the old phrase does come to mind. The reports of my death have been greatly exaggerated. MAGA is far from being dead. And that's despite spears and bullets and the media and the panicans and the podcastians and everybody trying to convince you that MAGA is dead. Doesn't have a chance. Midterms are over. It's lost. There's nothing you can do about it. But yet, we keep seeing that. Now, understand these aren't general elections, so they're not going up against other Democrats at this point. But nonetheless, how can we possibly be dead? Well, there's only one possibility that we're dead. They lied. They've been lying to you. And you know who they are. I don't even have to name them. They have shown themselves. They have shown themselves to be complete morons at this point. Those of you who stood tall, stood strong, and despite of all the stuff that was going on, so many people talking about your demise. MAGA is dead. It's over. Yet today they're awful quiet. They were calling that, Thomas Massey's race was fixed. It was rigged. It was the Jews. And now they don't know what to say because it just keeps happening. Ignore them. Because now they know the formidable opponent that you are. That was just in Texas. Who knows what's going to happen in California with Spencer Pratt and Steve Hilton? Who knows what lies ahead? But I can guarantee you something that definitely lies ahead, and that is an immense fight. It's just beginning. When you realize how formidable your foe is, this is when you need to drop back. This is when Hakeem Jeffries now has to measure maximum warfare everywhere all the time. And so pat yourself on the back today, feel good about what happens, and then tomorrow realize it's time to strap on the armor all over again. It's going to get worse. I'll just be the harbinger right now. We have 6 long months. They are going to try everything. They are literally going to throw the kitchen sink. They are going to try to do whatever they can using the media, using racism, out here fighting in the street with the ICE. They will do anything. We got a long, hot summer ahead. Don't take your eyes off the prize. You're doing the right thing. You support President Trump. Nobody can understand it on their side. Van Jones is like it's a very dark night in America. For who? For you guys. John Cornyn. You know who the person right now who's got to have the most fear? John Thune. You've spent $100 million trying to get this guy elected. $100 million. Don't know where you spent it, but that's $100 million that you spent trying to beat Ken Paxton. You called him every name in the book. You pointed fingers at him, everything. But now we wake up this morning, or some of you probably realized last night, McConnell, gone. Chip Roy, hit the bricks. Massey, get in the back of the pickup truck. You're done. Marjorie Taylor Greene, get out. And on and on and on. Bill Cassidy, hit the bricks. These people are falling very, very quickly in large amounts. They're getting massacred. It's not even close. That should tell you something. The fact that the races, not only are Trump candidates winning, they're not even winning in a close race. They're destroying their competitors. What does that tell you? It tells you that Trump has the juice. President Trump has the power. As much as you want to call us deplorables and racists and fascists and Nazis and all the other words, you're staring at an opponent who's ready and willing and coming for you. We are not laying down. But now we can't lay down. And I got to believe the person who's got the most fear in him today is John Thune. He has watched his compatriots go down one after another. See, but the problem with that is it makes him even more dangerous. You see, these guys, although they got voted out, they don't leave office for a few months. And you can bet Massey and Cassidy and Tom Tillis and John Cornyn are all going to do everything they possibly can to mess things up for the Republicans. I've said it many times on the show. I don't even know why we call ourselves Republicans anymore. Why don't we just take the mantle and say, this is MAGA? We are MAGA. We are Legion. We are not backing down. We are not shying away. We are going to wear our red hats. We are going to let everybody know who we are. No more being afraid. We can't allow that to even enter into our minds anymore. It's going to get very tough. I just want you to know they're going to do everything they can to stop Trump. They can't stop him. The obliteration campaign is underway. All the deep staters that are hiding in the shadows, trying to do whatever they can, I don't think enough people are paying attention because they probably don't even know all the different things that are happening. But now they wake up to a big news because everybody's talking about it, and Ken Paxton beat the crap out of John Cornyn. I'm going to go into some of the stuff that you're probably not paying attention to over the next couple days. Now, there's rumors about today that I just want to touch on. I can't confirm them, but some people are saying that today in this cabinet meeting was a complete honeypot. They stung somebody, meaning they told somebody that the meeting was going to be in Camp David, and then they wanted to see who it was that was going to, release the rumor. I have no idea. I cannot confirm that. I'm only bringing it up because people have asked me. I have no idea. It seems like it'd be quite elaborate to see if that was somebody. But if they did do that, if they did honeypot somebody to see what happens, that person's goose is cooked. They absolutely know who it was if that was the case. So let's see if somebody ends up falling on a sword in the next couple of days. But before it starts up at 11 or so, let's talk about Ken Paxton.
I feel speechless in a way, but they're not going to let me do that. Wow. To the people in this room, to the people watching at home, and to the people of the great state of Texas, tonight, we just made history. I want to thank my family, my kids, my grandchildren, the Paxton Patriots, and every single person here today. Without your love, your support, and your prayers, we would not be here tonight celebrating this incredible victory. I'd also like to thank all of the grassroots, local, state, and national leaders who supported this campaign, including Congressman.
I'm seeing people in the chat talking about Chip Roy. Yes, I said he lost. Another one. Put him on the funeral pyre. He's done as well.
Brandon Gilth, who just spoke. Lance Gooden, Congressman Nels, Congressman Wesley Hunt, and Congressman Ronnie Jackson. I'd also like to thank Scott Pressler and Turning Point Action for their endorsements. And then there's one person who I think you might know, President Donald J. Trump. When everyone in Washington told him to abandon me and abandon the people of Texas, he didn't listen.
That's a very important point. Maybe not a lot of you know that. There was a strong campaign by Thune and others to get Trump to abandon Ken Paxton. Remember, he only did the endorsement a short time ago, maybe even within the last 7 to 10 days. He was not making that call. And then finally, and it was funny because at that time they were quite close in the polls. And then all of a sudden Trump says, that's my guy. Bam, bada bing, boom, blew him out. That's how strong President Trump is. It's funny. I see SB, if he talks to trolls and everything, the reason why these trolls are ineffective is the same reason these polls are ineffective. It's obvious at this point that you, as MAGA, have stopped listening to them, which is the right thing to do. At this point, I don't care if a poll says that President Trump is so underwater, so much of a disapproval. Obviously, you're not talking to the right people. Obviously, your polls are fake. How do I know that? You can't be 117-0 if everybody in every poll says he's underwater. Now, here comes the next poll. The next thing they're going to say is that Tallarico's going to spank Ken Paxton. And don't listen to it. If you're in Texas, don't even listen to it. Just get out and vote for this guy.
Dad, he gave his complete and total endorsement. President Trump is the leader of our party, and his endorsement in this is the most powerful force in politics. And I'm honored to have his support, and I look forward to working with him in the Senate to deliver for Texas. Tonight, we just sent a Texas-sized message to Washington. I said it in March, and I'll say it again now. Today, change was on the ballot, and change won. Let me be clear, this is not just my win, this is your win. We just proved that this Senate seat doesn't belong to Washington. It belongs to you, the hardworking men and women of this state. We went up against $150 million in all the attacks in the world, and you know what happened? The voters declared loud and clear a simple truth that we know in our hearts and in our souls: Texas is not for sale.
Imagine being in the so-called deep state and you spend $150 million, an ungodly amount of money. It makes absolutely no sense. And you don't lose, you get blown out. See, that's where it has to get dangerous, because now they realize we can't spend our way out of this. We can't use the media to do all these things and try to convince people. These people are listening to him, the guy in the White House. That's who we're listening to. And that's what I've been saying all along. Let the man cook. Forget all the crap people are saying. I often say to you, we don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. So the pollsters have no idea. The pollsters yesterday thought that John Cornyn was going to win. What do they say now? He got blown out. Now, he didn't lose. He got blown out. So now they got to regroup and say Tallarico's going to win. The guy who doesn't want beef and wants to make beef illegal is going to win Texas. The guy who wants to open the borders is going to win Texas. The guy who thinks there's 28 different genders is going to win Texas. The guy who blasphemes is going to win Texas. Wow, you got to be a special kind of stupid to believe that. I mean, a very special kind of stupid.
John Cornyn is someone who's been in the U.S. Senate for 24 years. As this is coming on the heels of this loss, that, you know, it was maybe in March, I think, that the president was on the verge of endorsing him. And then his opponent, Ken Paxton, came out and said he'd drop out of the race if the Senate nuked the filibuster.
Okay, you got to stop right there. That's how bad John Thune didn't want Paxton in the race. That's how bad he's looking to screw President Trump. Ken Paxton said, I'll drop out. You know, no questions asked. I will leave the race. You can appoint John Cornyn. He can stay. The only thing it's going to cost you is you got to pace the SAVE Act and drop the filibuster. And John Thune wouldn't do it. He spent $150 million to protect the filibuster and to not pass the Save America Act. That is what Cornyn got beat by. The American people have spoken over and over and over. We want voter ID. We want the Save America Act. This isn't something that's even up for debate. But the deep state, The deep state who are on the obliteration campaign, they spent $150 million, ignored Ken Paxton's offer. You could have saved $100+ million bucks. Hey, okay, I get it. You're going to drop out. This guy who's been here forever can continue being a thorn in President Trump's side. Let's just go ahead and, nuke the filibuster. He wouldn't do it. He wouldn't do it. That's how bad it is with Thune.
And pushed through the SAVE Act, the Save America Act that Trump wants so badly, and has caused huge tension between the president and Senate Republicans here in Washington. And
if you look at this map, Caitlin, we've talked about this before. You've talked about it with your smart panels in recent weeks. President Trump is incredibly weak nationally right now. His national poll numbers are down. He's underwater. The Iran war is unpopular. Gas prices are up. However,
he's underwater. His poll numbers suck, and the Iran war, and blah 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 blah. However, that just means everything you just said doesn't mean anything. Obviously, all those pre-qualifications that you made in your statement, he's incredibly unpopular. Guess not. The Iran war, people, guess it doesn't matter. Gas prices, doesn't matter. That's what they don't get. I wanted to make sure you guys saw that, because that was the most perfect example of people who just don't get it. He still thinks those other things are so bad. How could this even happen? How could Trump still get this guy elected in a landslide? They don't understand the MAGA mindset. That's why they think we're a cult. They don't understand. He has a plan. We support him, and we're going to go with this plan. And the reason is pretty simple. Nobody else is talking about doing anything for America. That's how bad it is. The Democrats probably could wage a really good political campaign if they just started talking about Americans. If they just said, listen, we're going to lower your taxes. That one works. Oh, people like that. Hey, we're going to close the border. We're going to do that one too. We're going to not let kids, boys playing girls sport. All they have to do is stuff that Americans want. We're going to lower your taxes. Now you got a competitive race. But no, you want to tell us that there's 24 genders. You want to tell us that boys can become, women, and you can just change who you are whenever you want. And it's racist and homophobic. And you're surprised that the polls aren't working. If you just listen to what you're saying, maybe move your studio into Idaho or something, and realize, or go hang out in Texas. Hey, do you guys care about boys playing girls sports? Oh, I care. I don't want it. You see, the things that the Democrats think are their big items are things that people don't care about. Racism. Even black people I don't know what you're talking about. Epstein. I don't care. I feel bad for whatever real victims there are, but I don't care. $5 gas. Well, I'm in South Florida. It's not $5 anymore. It's continuing to drop. And then you're talking about the Iranian war. That big thing, that cudgel that you think is a big problem is probably going to go away relatively soon too. And then you're left holding your nuts. You got nothing. Then you're back to racism. And you're back to George Floyd. It's not just that we are MAGA. It's more that you're not. And I think to myself, it's so easy. I could be a campaign manager for a Democrat. They'd call me in for a consultation. Barry, what do you think we should do? Care about Americans. That's a novel idea. Care about Americans. Well, we do. We care about transformers, and we care. Most Americans, real Americans. Not that commie stuff they're doing up in New York City. Nope, that's not going to work either. And so you're left with so many people who are following MAGA and supporting MAGA because the alternative is communism, some sort of transformerism. Nothing that Americans really want. This isn't a hard thing to do. I've been waiting I've been waiting to say there's going to be some Democrat candidate who's going to rise up and he's going to sound like a younger Trump. And people are going to go, oh, this guy wants to do pretty much the same thing. But they can't because they've raised a base of orcs. These people would go nuts if you said, nope, we're not going to go down the transformer route anymore. That's over. We're not going to keep crying racism. That's over. But they can't do it. And because they can't do it, they can't win. They are stuck in perpetuality on something that people don't want. The only thing that they can hope for is if they can brainwash enough young people who haven't followed any history whatsoever into thinking, we can't afford anything, we can't do anything, boomers killed us. And it's working in their young minds. I was going to put up a poll. How many of you have young children or young grandchildren? Because right now, what they're doing in colleges is just indoctrinating to these kids into communism and in transformerism and, the crazy stuff. And you see it on the news when they're fighting ICE. It's very simple. That's the only thing that ever scares me about MAGA in the future. Because eventually some Democrat's going to stand up and go, I don't want to cater to crazies. I have some different things I'd like to do. I don't know. Maybe I'd like to follow what John Kennedy said. I want to be like JFK. He was a very popular Democrat president. No, we can't have that. You're going to have people. You're going to have people try to understand. Ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. Oh, hell no. We don't want that. We want the country to do for us. Give us all the money. Give us all the free food. Give us our apartments. You can't win. They're done. Sorry for the little diatribe.
The president has shown yet again in Texas his power over the Republican base. Senator Cornyn graceful there as he heads for the exits. This is embarrassing for a veteran Republican incumbent. I'm old enough to remember when John Cornyn was a rising star in Texas politics 2.5, 3 decades ago. Tonight, Ken Paxton is getting 63% of the vote, has a 222,000 vote lead. The incumbent Republican senator getting just 37%. Perhaps that changes a little bit as the final votes come in. But thumping, shellacking, call it what you will. 254 counties in the giant state of Texas, more counties than any other state. 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 of those counties, John Cornyn is leading in the vote tonight. He is the 4-term Republican incumbent senator of this state. And he is.
They sound like they're in mourning. Because the media has to wake up this morning. At this point, the media must wake up and realize, look in the mirror, we are completely ineffective. You got nothing. You couldn't keep Colbert on the air. He was losing $40 million a year to spew propaganda. Your ratings were in the toilet. Nothing is working for the media. Nothing. And Fox is slowly following that same downward spiral as well, not admitting to themselves things have changed. And they haven't changed in a way that you people think they should have changed. People are fed up. It's really weird when even in our chat, when people are saying it's tough and financially things are hard to do, and then we sit back and you ask people some questions, and you realize how much of what you find expensive is because of what they're paying to newcomers. Tens of millions, hundreds of millions. How about the fraud? We can't even get Democrats in the media to even talk about fraud. It's like it doesn't exist. It's crazy. We're finding billions of dollars of fraud, of money just taken from Americans for all kinds of illicit purposes. Somalia is running around with Mercedes and all kinds of different luxury vehicles, and we can't even get the Democrats to talk about it. And we get people like Ilhan Omar, who one day says, I got 20 million, and the next day go, I don't even have 20 grand. And nobody's talking about it. It doesn't make any sense. You got a New York Giants quarterback come out and, introduce President Trump, and the entire sports media world goes absolutely nuts, but yet they say nothing when certain players endorsed and talked about Kamala. You can't keep trying to turn everything upside down. It's not working. At some point, you got to realize this. We keep doing the same thing, getting the same result. Trump is the personification of that. Let me just show you that again. The absolute personification. You keep doing things and get the same result. It's not even close. 117 or 18 to 0. And so I ask you as an intelligent adult, when you look at this kind of data and you hear the stuff from the pollsters and you see everything, it's got to start sinking into everybody that you feel comfortable going, man, he really does have this, doesn't he? Yeah. And we don't know what he's got planned tomorrow. We don't know what's going to happen in this cabinet meeting. We don't know what kind of nuggets might get dropped today. We don't know with what's going to happen with Iran. We just don't know.
Leading in only 4 counties at the moment as the votes come in. Again, to the power of the president, I just want to draw you a line right here. This is ruby red, rural Texas. Those counties inside the green are places where Trump gets 70, 80, sometimes 92, 93% of the vote. They're small. In some of those counties, it's 129 votes. In others, it might be 500 votes. But this has been the Trump phenomenon in rural America. That is tonight. This was the primary just a few weeks ago when Donald Trump had not endorsed in this race. All that red is John Cornyn.
This is what I was telling you about. Just a few weeks ago, look at the numbers. It was Cornyn and Paxton were going to be, tight race. And just by President Trump going, that's my guy, boom.
Then, absent the Trump endorsement, that is tonight. Ken Paxton padding his victory by doing what Trump does, running it up in the rural counties. And so the numbers are impressive for Mr. Paxton tonight. And now we go into November where Democrats do believe, I've been in Texas a couple of times this cycle already, they believe they have a shot. It's been 32 years since the Democrats have.
They can't stop themselves. That's Tallarico's got a shot. You haven't, here's what's really funny is that Paxton and Trump really haven't unleashed on Tallarico yet. They really haven't set their sights on him. They had to get Paxton elected. Now we can look at this nut job. Now we can let everybody know how much of a nut job this dude is. And so what you're going to see basically from here to November, if you live in Texas, you're going to see tons of money get poured into Tallarico because they do the same thing all the time. And now we're going to expose him. I mean, I'll talk about Tallarico in the next couple of days and some of the craziness things that he has said, but it's bat poop crazy. And unless Texas has turned, which obviously it hasn't, unless Texas all of a sudden has an epiphany and we want to go with a crazy guy, no, it's not even close.
One statewide in Texas, so be a little skeptical, but they think they got a shot.
Yeah.
They don't have a shot. They don't have a snowball's chance in hell, but they got to keep saying it because what's their audience going to think? They can't say, Paxton's going to win by 20 points. And I'm sure there'll be a poll tomorrow that says, oh, Tallarico is leading by 6 points. Yeah, okay. Obviously, people aren't listening to the polls.
Matt, look, the fact of the matter is, if Cornyn wanted to be more popular with the Trump voters, it wasn't that hard to do over the last couple of years, was it? I mean, he could have really lobbied for that Save America Act. He could have pushed to get rid of the filibuster. He could have been a warrior on these issues. I mean, other Republicans have straddled that line with Trump, but he didn't do it.
Well, Laura, we predicted that Paxton was going to win this thing a couple months on your show months ago. And it's because the MAGA vote is just so intense. And the country club Republicans are shrinking and going away in the suburban areas. He could have done a lot of things. I mean, this whole world of Tillis and McConnell and unfortunately Cornyn and others, they're killing themselves because they do not realize the Democrats are going to nuke the filibuster. They're telling you that right now. They are going to try to expand the Supreme Court. So why do they not want to be proactive, follow Trump, support him, allow him to get some of his policies passed now so we don't have to hold everything on the midterms? I don't understand it. I don't think the president understands it. And I don't think Republican voters understand it, which is why Paxton is going to win tonight.
I understand it. I'm pretty sure President Trump understands it. I'm pretty sure most of you understand it. These people don't want Republicans to win. They are comfortable being, as he mentioned, the country club crowd. They get invited to all the cocktail parties. They're there for 20 and 30 years. Whether you win or lose, they're there for 20 or 30 years. They keep getting paid. They don't care. It's a nice life. You can play loser all the time. When Obama was whooping their butts, Cornyn was there. When Hillary was doing all this stuff, Cornyn was there. Too many of them were there for decades. Just think about that. John Cornyn has been in office for decades. Mitch McConnell, I don't even know. I can't count that high. He's been there for 30, 40 years. He doesn't care. I still get paid. MAGA, no, you guys are screwing things up. You're going to make it hard for us deep staters. You know what's really interesting? It's probably going to blow you guys away here. MAGA isn't that far away from normal Democrats. I'm not talking about the commies. I'm not talking about the purple hairs. Normal Democrats. They're not, obviously, RFK Jr., we are not that far away in ideology. They want safe neighborhoods. They want lower interest rates. They want lower food prices, lower gas prices. They don't believe at all that boys should be playing in girls' sports. It's that other part of the Democrat Party, the AOCs, the bald-headed chick and all that stuff. They're the nuts. They get all the air. They suck all the air out the room. And so at the end of the day, I hate that saying. I don't know why I said it. When pot comes to shove, people are going to have to look themselves in the mirror. And they're going to have to look and say, do I really want this happening to my country? Because I have to believe, because some of Robin's relatives were Democrats, my sisters were Democrats. I saw something transformative this past couple days while she was in town. I can't tell you how many times she would say something and I would say, that's not true. Like, what do you mean? That's not true. Oh, yes, it is. How did you hear that? Oh, the news. Here, look at this. They don't even see it. And it happened over and over and over. The whole thing, what was the first one? Jean Carroll. Oh, he's going to have to pay her $85 million. Oh, really? You didn't hear what happened last week, did you? No, I didn't. Because those people don't tell them. And when they don't tell them, they don't know. And then you say, look, the appellate court said, pump the brakes on that. No, it's not happening as of right now. Didn't know it, had never heard it. Think about some of the people you work with and the friends who are living their lives, trying to do the best for it, and all they get is bits and pieces of crap. Just like the guy from the CNN who just said there. His words, yeah, Trump's underwater in Iran and his disapproval. They're just saying it. There's nobody going, wait a second, can we talk about that for a second? As you're saying this guy's 118-0, you're at the very same time as you're showing the chart, you're saying he's a historic disapproval. But they don't think, well, they know at this point people won't. They won't verify for themselves. The other day, or it was yesterday, SV, we were talking about the big bust that happens. Remember the big bust SV was talking about yesterday, where they arrested like 8,700 people. They confiscated like 90 tons of coke, and they went through all these different South America, Central America, the Caribbean, and they've been doing all this stuff and arresting everybody. Nobody on the news, it didn't even show up on the news. How did that happen? How do you think that happened? You know, I believe the Shield of America is working hard, but I don't know because nobody's talking about it. And then the whole Pam Bondi thing, I'm going to talk to you guys about that because there's something there for you guys to talk about. A lot of eggs on the faces. It is what it is. Let me see if SV is around as I see the feed. Is he here? Yeah, he's here. Hello, sir. How you doing this morning?
Hey, I'm doing all right. I'm doing all right. That 100 million that they spent down in Texas, that could have bought a nice $75 million home down in Boca.
It probably did for somebody.
Yeah, yeah. If you see the for sale sign quickly go down, you'll know somebody's coming from Texas.
Exactly. But,
yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
I got to find that thing you were talking about, the big drug arrest down in the Caribbean, but that just has piqued my interest quite a bit.
Yeah, I'll check more into it as well. Trump just said a farewell to the Geico caveman about 30 minutes ago. I'll read it. It's kind of short. He says, "Congratulations to the Democrat Party. Al Green, one of the most mentally deficient congressmen in the history of our country, has lost in a landslide his seat in Congress. But I will miss that lunatic not screaming and violently waving his cane at me during my next State of the Union speech. Make America great again. God bless America." President Donald J. Trump.
Oh my gosh. Oh, that's like, just rub your face in it.
It's so easy, even a caveman can do it.
Oh my gosh. And he lost, I think, to another Democrat, actually.
Yes.
Yeah. So he got
less
booted.
crazy than he was. Yeah, he was nuts. He was.
Man, things are definitely changing for sure. It's getting crazy.
As they say, the cream starts rising to the top. Stock market's doing pretty well. It's up 245 points right now. The S&P is down just only a point, but it's continuing to go up. More record highs every day.
Are we over 50,000 again? Yep.
Yeah. We're 50,707.
Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. And oh, here's why, SV. I don't know if I can put this up. It might not fit. Hold on. No, it won't fit. But
the price of
oil tanked. Oil's below 90. Below 90. I mean, it just keeps going down. So that's just more good news.
Hopefully it will migrate to our pumps, because here in Virginia it's still 4.25. So it still hasn't really moved down. I was going to give a little snippet of what you're going to talk about in the next couple of days about that James Tallarico. I mean, he is a nutcase. I'm not going to go all of it. This is one thing he was asked, what was the first thing he thinks about aside from his family? His answer, trans kids, not jobs, not border, not inflation, not the fentanyl killing families, trans kids.
Wacko.
Vote in November.
And that's gonna, it's funny is they're gonna do the polls. They're gonna say he's ahead, and Texans are like, I'm not voting for this crap. I want to give away. I'm not gonna have beef, and I want to. Most important to me is trans kids. I'm like, yeah, go ahead. You're crazy. But I gotta go and do this spot real quick. But before I go, I want to show you guys something. Thanks, SV.
See you soon.
All right, so there's a shot of the White House as they're waiting for the cabinet to come out. That big giant thing behind it, you probably haven't seen it before, and it's got the left all freaked out all over again. This is the sectioning of the stadium, if you will, that they're going to be doing for the UFC fight. And it's you've seen how big the White House is. This thing is huge with the trusses and the lights and everything else. So it's going to be quite impressive. Quite impressive. I'm looking to see if they take a different shot of it. I would show you, but that's really pretty cool right there. So. Very interesting. Let me tell you about, who am I going with here? I'm going to go with Brightcore. Right. Early onset dementia and Alzheimer's are on the rise. Reports show a 373% increase in diagnoses among those people 30 to 44 years old, and a 311 increase in people 45 to 54. Wow, that's a huge increase. When doctors treat brain diseases, they often focus on medicating the brain itself, addressing symptoms instead of the root cause, which is chronic inflammation and oxidative stress. These factors damage brain cells and lead to the buildup of toxic proteins, which is the hallmark of Alzheimer's disease. But like much of the body, many brain issues trace back to the gut microbiome. That's a real thing. There's a direct communication line between your gut and your brain, the gut-brain axis, where gut bacteria influences inflammation, your mood, your memory, and your cognitive function. That's why what you eat matters so much. And there's been a recent study that the people from Brightcore sent me that I want to show you. And it talks all about that, just that. And kimchi contains over 900 probiotic strains, and these studies show its bioactive compounds help reduce that inflammation, protect your brain cells, and even improve memory and cognitive function by preventing something called an amyloid beta plaque buildup. That's why Brightcore created Kimchi One. It delivers all the benefits of real kimchi in convenient capsules. No taste, no smell, virtually no sodium, made in the USA, and as well, non-GMO. And you can get yours, like many people here in the chat have done thus far, by going to brightcore.com/Barry. You can get exclusive offer by clicking the link also in the description below for 25% off your entire order. Or for an even better deal, call my friends at Brightcore for up to 50% off your order and free shipping. Give them a call now at 888-418-6738. I will be right back.
Back to Fanfare with Barry Cunningham.
I believe that in our country, the voices of working people are far more important than the voices of those who merely have money.
Okay, so you guys know this is our friendly Democrat Nazi who's running up in Maine. And I just wanted to stop based on that first statement when he says, I believe that our voices are more important than other people's voices, which is fine. It's kind of odd to hear from a politician, especially a politician who's, sort of on the commie side. It's because I thought, the warm era of collectivism, we are all in this together. And I didn't know there was a level of importance. And so when you listen how these people talk, now they're basically looking to insert themselves as being more important, which I found very interesting that you would say those words. We are more important than you. That's scary in of itself.
I believe that we should not be settling for scraps that they throw to us from the table where they are dining with the Epstein class.
It's going to be like this because there's so many things, and these people are all cheering as they're hearing this. One of the reasons why they're cheering, and I look at the crowd, and as you look at this crowd, you can see some of these people might just be zombies. Some of these people may believe in this stuff, but the collective, the collective that you're looking at obviously didn't do well in history. The college kids that you see doing crazy stuff didn't do well in history or just didn't go. They don't understand every single one of the major advocates and proponents of socialism and communism have resulted in people being really, really, really in trouble, if not dead. It can't work. They don't want to hear it, but the only way they can keep doing what they're doing is to keep saying what they're saying like a mantra so that the zombies listen and blame other people for their problems.
I don't think that a CEO should have more power than a union member. I don't think that private equity deserves more time with a United States senator than someone who works 2 jobs for a living.
They hate everything about success, is what he just said. You know, someone who's in private equity, obviously they're raising money. Somebody who's very successful in business, you have an opportunity because you are employing people. You are doing things to help more people get out of poverty, to better their lives. And they hate that. You know, I would love to meet President Trump, but I know that Jeff Bezos has more to say. Elon Musk has more to say. He's flying rockets all over the world than I would be. Barry, what's your idea to help people who are hungry? Get them more food. Okay, thank you. Get out. Because other than that, I can have the idea, but I can't do anything about the idea. I can't take a cargo ship and do something. But what they're trying to tell people is you don't need big business. You don't need rich people. It's all their fault why you are where you are, which is completely wrong. And I know not a lot, but there are certain people who don't like me talking about this, but I can't. It's how I was brought up. It's inbred in me. You know, when my sister was here, I said, you remember what Daddy did? You know, he came over here from Jamaica. He started a construction company. I am probably one of the few people you can look at and go, I can't tell him otherwise. His father came over here with 2 nickels. His father came over here and he knew how to do some certain things from working in Jamaica, and he got here and he was able to basically parlay that into a big construction company. And so it's very hard for me to go, it doesn't work. It's racism and you know, all the other people. No, it's not true. I am a living embodiment of it. A Jamaican kid, he was young, came here, went to the army, joined the army, jumped out of doggone airplanes, and decided at that point he was, you know, a Republican and he wanted to do business. And just like every other person who wants to do business who doesn't have anything but 2 nickels, you need an investor. Like, wow, he wants to buy trucks and do all this stuff and tools and open, you know, offices. And how's he going to do it? He doesn't have any money. And he meets a Jewish chicken farmer in Connecticut, and he tells this Jewish chicken farmer his idea, and this Jewish chicken farmer decides to bankroll him. And, you know, for there, the rest is history. A Jewish chicken farmer bankrolled my father. Let that sink in. For all the racists out there, and people who say, you know, it's the Jews, you're barking up the wrong thing here, because I've lived it. I watched how my father was able to speak to this guy, and this guy said, here, I want a percentage of your business, and we'll do this, and we're going to build houses, and it just keeps going. And you got these guys saying, oh, no, we can't do that. It's the government.
This great country of ours is moving very rapidly in the direction of oligarchy. The United States of America today.
Hold on. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. He just said it's moving very rapidly to an oligarchy type country. He said that in 1993. Man, the rapid development of oligarchy seems to be quite slow. I mean, we're talking 33 years. And you keep saying it over and over and over to the, the legion of doom that you speak to.
Is increasingly becoming an oligarchy. More and more moving toward an oligarchy. We are moving in the direction of oligarchy. We will move even more rapidly in the direction of an oligarchy. This great country is evolving into an oligarchic society. It is called oligarchy, and that is the system we are rapidly moving toward. This is a budget that moves our country rapidly into the direction of oligarchy. A handful of billionaires are moving this entire planet toward an oligarchic society.
Start off with the bad news, which is pretty bad, and that is that under Donald Trump, this country is hurtling rapidly toward oligarchy.
1993 was the first time he said that, or that's the first time that it was recorded. We're quickly going into oligarchy, which, okay, I guess wasn't anything quick about it. But the question I would have if I was sitting with Bernie, it's like, do me a favor, write down, just really on the back of a napkin, just on a napkin here, what was your net worth in 1993? Simple question. Write down how much money you had in 1993. Okay, you wrote it. Now list all of the jobs you've had since 1993. That's going to be a very short list because there's none. So tell me, Bernie, if we've been hurtling towards the oligarchy, how could somebody without a job have what you have in that net worth today? Because your 1993 net worth is not the same net worth that you have in 2026, yet you have no job that could have catapulted you to this. Exactly. How did you fight the oligarchy and turn yourself into a multimillionaire with multiple houses? More importantly, why haven't you shown these idiots that you talk to how you did it? Well, I wrote a book. I'm a politician. I wrote a book. Okay. Can other people write? Can other people sell books? It's hard to look at where the Democrats come from when you realize where they've come from. 1993, you're telling people it's all over. It's all over. Yet your income, your net worth has skyrocketed. Wow, this country must be really bad at sucking. It must be really bad at turning into an oligarchy if you have been able in 30 years to acquire millions. Not supposed to know that. Not supposed to see it.
Those who are benefiting off of the system we have now, they know what the light at the end of their tunnel looks like. It looks like none of us owning anything.
Hold on. Those of us who have benefited from the system can look at the system and say it ends up with none of us owning anything. And the people in the audience, I got to rewind it because the people in the audience were sitting there. What do you mean? I bet you everybody in there has something. If they don't have a house, they've got a truck. What do you mean? You're telling people who have things you can't get anything.
Looks like everything becoming a subscription service, having no right to fix anything that's yours. It looks like a world in which we all have nothing and they sit in paradise behind walls of concrete and guns.
Seriously? We don't have anything and we sit behind walls of concrete and guns. All right, so where I'm sitting, I'd have to say I'm one of those people. I'm broadcasting right now from a gated community in Boca Raton with a giant 8-foot concrete wall. And yes, we got some guns up in here. But guess what? There's a whole lot of other people in this development who have the exact same thing. They are living behind a gated community with a giant concrete wall. I'm sure they got some weapons and they got kids. They got all, what are you talking about? I'm not oligarchic. The next door neighbor's not oligarchic. What kind of an insane nut do you have to be to listen to this stuff?
That's their future, and we cannot let them have it. Because we have an opportunity now. We are at a crossroads in American history. On one path, we are looking down the dark road of fascism. We're already there.
Anybody want to tell him? Anybody just want to just talk to this guy right here? We're looking at fascism. Meanwhile, the Nazis talking to you. None of you guys can pick up on that. They're the fascists. Not me. And I'm thinking, what kind of lives do these people live that listen to this crap and sit there and say, we get to vote for the Nazi who's no longer the Nazi, but because we're worried about other Nazis?
Masked agents kidnapping people, murdering Americans in the streets. A federal government that is now turning back on illegal wiretapping without warrants, that is using things like terrorism and military adventures abroad.
If a guy showed up looking like that, would you vote for him? Bro, you need a shave. Put on a tie. Look presentable. It doesn't even look like you know what you're talking. We can hear you and realize you don't know what you're talking about, but at least try to fool us by the way that you dress. Nope. No, okay. So you're expecting these people to think you're the next coming of John Fetterman.
To be weaponized here at home against political enemies. That is happening. We keep going down that path, it is a bleak future indeed. But there is another path that we must take. We must understand that we have to rise to our moment in history. Nobody wants to live in interesting times.
I don't even know what that means. Nobody wants to live in interesting times. You all want to be bored? I mean, what do you mean? I don't understand. Nobody wants to live in interesting times. Again, I feel like it's John Belushi in Animal House. Hey, yeah, he's rolling. He's on a roll. The Germans bombing Pearl Harbor. We don't want to live in interesting times. Whew.
But we do. And much like the Americans that came before us, we have to understand that it is not going to be enough to just protect what we had. We need to build something new.
Notice when they say that, they never say what new is. So if you're talking to people and you're telling them they need to, rise up against the oligarchs and, you're not going to own anything, you're talking about your own party. Your party's not building anything. Your party is completely against building something. Your party is for taking. And so, excuse me, what are we supposed to build if, we don't have any money? They don't tell people this stuff. They lie to them.
Top Democrats backing Maine Senate candidate Graham Plattner now ducking questions about some of his unearthed internet posts in which he mocks American war heroes. That includes a Purple Heart recipient who he says didn't, quote, deserve to live after being shot 4 times by the Taliban.
I was wondering if you regret the post about the Purple Heart veteran, if you think you need to apologize to him, what you would say to voters who might be upset by it?
I look forward towards the infantry. Any attempt to say that I disrespect veterans is slanderous and offensive.
But it's your words. Any attempt to say that I said this is slanderous, except for the fact that I said it. We have the actual quote. We have you actually saying it, but me telling you that your own words is actually, slanderous. Guess what? Take me to court. You'll never win. Here's it's right here. You said that MFer deserved to die. So you tell me how any veteran, anywhere, we just celebrated a Memorial Day. is looking at this idiot and saying, yeah, that's the guy I think should be leading Maine. The only reason, and by the way, the only reason why we're even talking about him is that Susan Collins is abhorrent. Maine didn't allow, again, John Thune, you didn't tell Susan Collins, you know what, maybe you might want to retire and let someone else take the helm right now. So now we're going to have to spend another $100 million in Maine to drag her old behind across the line so that she can then go ahead and attack Trump. Excuse me. Because she's not a guaranteed vote for anything. And so we're going to have to spend $100 million to beat the Nazi.
You owe him an apology?
Good. Do you know how many of my friends have Purple Hearts? Do you know how many of my friends got wounded?
I'm sure a lot.
Yeah.
You know, that's the old, you know how many of my friends are black? I have a lot of black friends. I can't be a racist. That's pretty much what he just said. You know how many my friends are Purple Hearts? No, I have no idea. I would ask them, well, how many of your friends that are Purple Hearts know what you said? Because those people that you know who are your friends are Purple Hearts. Are they okay with you denigrating another soldier and saying he doesn't deserve to live? You know, you're bringing him up. I didn't him up. These people don't even think on their feet to ask these questions.
Thank you.
Mr. Leader, is Graham Plattner a liability for Democrats after those lewd Reddit posts were exposed?
I haven't seen those posts.
You're going to like this part. All right. So people started asking these leading Democrats, hey, what do you think about this guy who's a Nazi? Because from what we understood the last 10 years, Nazi's bad. Nazi's kind of bad. It's Trump Nazi, fascist. But now you're actually, embracing a Nazi. And what do you think about it? I don't know nothing about it.
Senator, is Graham Plattner a liability right now for Democrats after those Reddit posts, the lewd posts that just were revealed? Senator, do you rescind your endorsement of Graham Plattner after those lewd posts on Reddit?
Yeah. You see, one of the things you have to realize now, after you see these, it was funny, when I was in Washington, I was sitting next to the lady from Lindell TV, and she always chases these people in the tunnels. And you realize they're stupid as I almost said a bad word. They are stupid. Unless somebody gives them a script, they don't have anything to say. Chuck Schumer was walking in there. He didn't seem like he knew what the hell was going on. They don't know until they're told.
Are you reconsidering endorsing Plattner after those lewd Reddit posts that came out?
Senator, what about Talarico, sir? What about the president endorsing Paxton over Cornyn? Do you think that changes the dynamic in Texas?
The Republicans in Texas are in shambles in Texas.
Plattner, there's some lewd.
Texas is shambles. Obviously, this was filmed a few days ago, but Chucky had nothing to say. Now here comes Stolen Valor Blumenthal.
Post that he made on social media.
I'm not following it.
Sorry.
I haven't seen those, but go on right into a hearing.
Well, the people of Maine get to choose who they want to represent them in the U.S. Senate. And so I encourage you to interview the people in Maine, because that's what a democracy is all about. I'm not going to take any position in that election. That's my practice since I've been in the Senate.
Democrats.
Who's?
Graham Plattner, who's running for Senate in Maine, has made some wild.
I'm not going to get into that.
I'm not going to get into that. So you're asking sitting senators, hey, what about this Nazi up in Maine? I haven't seen it. What do you mean you haven't seen it? You got a whole staff. Nobody's brought this to your attention. I'm not tracking it. I don't know. They're in trouble. They know, because it would have been very easy for each one of them to have said, yeah, I support him. I'm right behind him. So they're taking the complete, I don't know nothing about it. See no evil, hear no evil. I don't know nothing.
Hey, Senator, you talk to us about Graham Plattner's posts. Do you find them offensive, the social media posts that came out?
I'm not getting involved in that race. I'm actually focused on the Midwest.
I have not seen his posts, so I'm not going to be able to be in a position to evaluate them. He's explained his journey and his evolution and his PTSD, from the war. And
Hold on. I will never make fun of anybody who has PTSD. However, if you're telling me that this guy has PTSD, then why the hell is he running for senator of a state of the United States? Why would people in Maine go, you know what, this guy's he's got some issues, he's shell-shocked, he's got some PTSD, let's make him a senator. That might have been the most ludicrous denial approval I've ever heard. He's got some PTSD. Well, do the people of Maine know that? I'm just saying.
Again, I think it's a judgment that should be rendered by the people of Maine.
Absolutely crazy. So, as you were just listening to that, it must make you feel like, what the heck is going on? And then at the same time, just so you know, at the same time as you're watching that, you understand this guy is an actual Nazi. But now the Democrats are going to have a problem, and I'm going to use a crystal ball here and predict that they're going to have a problem because you can't call Trump one. You can't call us MAGA one. You can't say that they have taken one of their big statements off the table. Just imagine it. Pretty soon racism will come off the table, but in any event, Nazis have to come off the table because now they're okay, depending on who you are. I showed this to you yesterday.
Want these guys to wear them. So that's been going on. They like to face off. But this is the deal. These ICE agents are doing their job according to DHS, and these protesters want this facility closed. They say that there are poor conditions inside of the facility, including poor food. They say people are getting sick in there and they don't have medical care. But DHS says that's just not the case. And so people are getting into these explosive arguments between these ICE agents and trying to go back and forth on it. So, as you know, Will, from being in Minneapolis and me doing some live shots with you, I'm not the most popular reporter, right, at these ICE protests. So just prepare yourself to see some of that. But this is the deal. ICE says they're going to do everything they can to keep this facility open, and we're going to keep a close eye on exactly what happens with that. And so the other situation is there's people like this. You are a protester who's been out here and you have a dirty mouth, but okay.
Oh, you have a dirty mouth. Oh my gosh. They treat these people like kids. You have a dirty mouth. But, as I showed you yesterday, she's about to use something. She's about to use a word against her. This young white woman is now going to be reduced to being on the same level as the guy up in Maine.
So that's just what we deal with. So just for people that want to know what it's like to cover these protests, it's constant with this. This is what these people do. They want people who are in this country illegally to be released out onto the streets. DHS says that's what they're going to not be doing. So we'll see.
Bitch, Nazi bitch, that's what you are.
That is an eloquent argument.
Ooh, that is an eloquent argument. Because now they've got nothing. How are you going to call this person a Nazi when the other one in Maine is an actual Nazi? Oh, everyone's a Nazi. You need to find your own Nazi. I can't. I don't understand how these people get up in the morning and how you have a foul mouth, a dirty mouth, and they're going to win. What you're seeing, they're going to win. SB just sent me something, so I guess it's a bit of breaking news. We can talk about it here real quick, because let's jump into this.
Breaking news into the Fanfare news feed.
All right, so the breaking news, Eric Doherty posted this. Holy crap, the Trump DOJ is now moving to question Fulton County, Georgia 2020 election workers as a part of a huge fraud investigation. DOJ is trying to get their names and addresses and already rated to seize ballots. Democrats are now entering panic mode. Criminal charges could come. It all needs to come out. CNN hates admitting it. Some poll workers and ballot counters from the 2020 presidential election could soon hear a knock on their door. Federal prosecutors say that when they have the names and the addresses, investigators will try to talk to them. And here's a video that was posted as well.
Where in Fulton County, Georgia, some poll workers and ballot counters from the 2020 presidential election could soon hear a knock on their doors. Federal prosecutors say when they have the names and the addresses of those election workers, investigators will try to talk to them. President Trump has long claimed without evidence that there was widespread voter fraud in Fulton County, and that
Stop. That's another one of those insert things that they do. President Trump has long claimed without evidence, but that is such a mind F. They're trying to they say that all the time, blah, 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 without evidence, and they just keep going. Who in their right mind has not seen evidence? If you haven't seen evidence, it's because you haven't paid any attention. But again, it's the twisting of the words. He just slid that in there just so easily.
To his re-election loss to Joe Biden. Let's go live right now to CNN crime and justice correspondent Caitlin Polantz, who's working the story for us. Caitlin, is the Justice Department going to get all these lists of election workers and their addresses?
Well, Wolf, that's going to be the big question in court. We're still waiting to see what a judge will do. What has happened here is that the Justice Department, they've made clear they want to reopen and ask questions again about what happened in the 2020 election, especially in Fulton County, Georgia. That's the county that includes Atlanta, that Joe Biden won by more than 2/3 of the more than 500,000 votes there. It was a real wash of an election for Biden there. But Trump really does want to continue to say that the 2020 election was rigged. And now the Justice Department, they're going after thousands of names and addresses of these 2020 election workers. At a hearing last week, that was where the judge was hearing about why the Justice Department actually may want these things. This election happened 6 years ago. That's out of the time frame where the Justice Department could bring voting-related federal criminal charges if they even would get to that point.
Now that's the important thing. She's focusing on the statute of limitations for election fraud. The part that she's missing is tying this into a bigger conspiracy. Now, I want you to go back in your mind because I doubt she's going to talk about it. But you have to remember, and you have to, as you see things continually happening, that there are 3 open grand juries down here in Florida: Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Fort Pierce. 3 grand juries are still working. None of these people on television know what they're working on. And so at any point they can do, I mean, just imagine if they're working on some sort of conspiratorial, seditious activity, that's different than election fraud. And they're focusing, it's been 6 years. It's not, it's past the statute of limitations. Well, I can tell you that Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, President Trump, anybody involved here understands statute of limitations. So if they're doing this, that should tell you, honey, they're not going after the one that expired. That should be the big, oh, wait a minute. So if they're still working on this stuff, then it can't be working on the charges that are, exceeding the statute of limitations. Duh. Oops, sorry, my bad. Hold on. What did I do here? Okay, hold on.
With a grand jury and a prosecutor there. His name is Will McComb. He said, "We are not sure what charges can be brought." And then he told the judge, "We don't know what they will tell us as far as what happened or what improprieties may or may not have happened in the 2020 election, and whether that is a continuing situation in this current election cycle or in the next election cycles for the..."
There was the word. In order for them to tie something in with a conspiracy or some sort of seditious act, they have to show that it's still happening. And so as he said that, as he said the words, here, listen to this again as she's reading it, That's exactly what they're doing. They're tying it into an ongoing conspiracy. Listen to this again.
As far as what happened or what improprieties may or may not have happened in the 2020 election, and whether that is a continuing situation in this current election cycle or in the next election cycles for the Fulton County Board.
All right, so there it is. If she would listen to the words that she just read, she would understand the objective here is they're tying it into some sort of, quote, continuing conspiracy, continuing criminal act. It's still going on. And these people just read and they don't stop. Wait, back up, back up. He just told you what it's all about. We're wanting to see if it's continuing. If it's continuing, it's going to match this other stuff that we're investigating. And if we're investigating here and we can still see the same stuff that we've been investigating happening now, we now know it's tied into the same ongoing criminal activity. She just went right through that. That was very important. They actually put that in writing, but she didn't explain it. Didn't explain it at all. Here, I'll let you hear it one more time. So before, you think Barry's going crazy, here it is again.
We don't know what they will tell us as far as what happened or what improprieties may or may not have happened in the 2020 election, and whether that is a continuing situation in this current election cycle or in the next election cycles for the Fulton County Board. But what the Justice Department is also saying is they just want to go out, knock on doors, potentially interview these ballot workers and poll workers. The judge, though, is looking at this. Is it a fishing expedition? And is this way too broad of a request? We're waiting to see what happens in this federal court proceeding. Wolf?
And as you know, Caitlin, the Southern Poverty Law Center is accusing the U.S. Justice Department of what they're calling vindictive prosecution.
They're losing everywhere. Mark Elias, all of them. They are losing so bad. And you have to know the bad guys know where they've been bad. And you go back to when you were a kid, you're like, I hope she doesn't look in there. I did something. You know what you did, where you did it, and how it was covered up. You all know you done some stuff in your life, and you're like, I hope they don't look in there. That's exactly what's happening. They're trying to prevent people from looking in that cabinet. The Biden administration or Biden himself, they're suing not to let people look at some of the tapes and things that he did. Why? Because I don't need you looking in that box over there. We don't want you looking at all into that stuff. And so the news has to play happily along, like it's, do you care that the Southern Poverty Law Center accuses the Justice Department of vindictive prosecution? No, I don't care. Every criminal ever convicted said they're coming after me. Of course they are. If there's smoke, there's fire. It's all coming together. Let me check in with SV. That was a good story, SV. That was pretty good.
When I think about the people that the liberals want to run and party, I think about that movie, The Raiders of the Lost Ark, when they're all around the cups, right? And, the knight's watching them, and the first guy grabs the cup. He goes, oh, yeah, it's got to be that shiny golden one. And he drinks it, and you see him go, ah! And he goes, you've chosen unwisely.
Poorly.
I mean, Poorly, yes.
You've chosen poorly.
Yes. I mean, that's a great analogy. They never choose anyone that wants to fix anything. It's always just screaming things. Like I've looked at a lot of, these candidates, and I never see them actually say, back in the day, you say, well, I'm going to stop crime. I'm going to do this. They never have anything substantial. I mean, you look at Pratt. He posted something just 19 minutes ago. He goes, friendly reminder, LA, you have to endure one more fire season under Karen before I am mayor, and she hasn't done a thing to protect you. Our reservoir is empty again. Dry leaves, needles, and fronds on your roof is a guaranteed way to lose your home in a fire. Clean it up. I mean, he wants to fix things. Big difference.
No, they don't want it fixed at all. So as I got these stories together today, because I'm like, with everything going on, I'm not sure, even though they called it for 11 o'clock, I'm like, I'm not sure if Trump's going to come out there. Here we are almost an hour later, and we got nothing. No, and it's funny watching Fox. Fox is like doing stuff over and over again because everybody's waiting for the camera to come on. And it's like, okay, so I can't really get into anything because if I get into something, then you're going to start, he's going to just turn on the cameras. But
I have something else. I got something to milk for a minute or two. So, Trump posted earlier about the ACE cognitive test. He had a picture of Biden and Potato Head with 0, and then Trump had a number of 3. Basically, he said he achieved a perfect 30 out of 30 on his latest Montreal cognitive assessment, and no other president in the last number of years has done it and passed as well as he has. So, he constantly puts out these facts that he's proving that he's got it together. Yet, do you see it being brought up on CNN or MSN or The Spew? They won't talk about it. He's very capable. And meanwhile, they keep saying the opposite. Typical what they do, gaslight and lie.
They have to. They have to because there's nothing. Again, we said it. I'd love to see one of them come out with something positive in regards to, here he comes. Right. He's on. Here we go.
Meeting now.
Tremendous period of time for our country, and things are going very well. Number of jobs. We have more people working today than we've ever had before in the history of our country, and many other things. And I have a few words to say to you that I think will be helpful. Last night was incredible. Texas, but so many other places, and the numbers were fantastic. And they've really been that way for a year. If you look, it's hundreds of people won, and almost nobody didn't win. So, but last night was very, very powerful. So I'm thrilled to welcome everyone to the 12th cabinet meeting of our administration, and we're doing something that no administration's ever done. We're always letting the press join us because we're very open and transparent. We like the word transparent, but we're more transparent than any administration in history. No, to the best of my knowledge, press has never been invited ever to a cabinet meeting for any reason at all. And it's an honor to have you. This team has achieved more than most other administrations achieve in 8 years. We took the most dangerous, unsafe, violent, and open border in the world. Anywhere in the world, there's no border like the border we had. And created the most secure border in the history of our country. We had no people, 12 months now, no people reported in the last 12 months came in illegally. 0 illegal aliens admitted to the United States in the last 12 months. And those charts are made by, you would say, politically unfriendly people. And the reason they don't come in is because nobody comes up, because they know that they're going to be turned away, and if they get in, they're going to be moved out right away. So it's been 0. You're the one that do the reports. I'm actually surprised by the number because I don't know how it can be 0, but they say it's 0 for the last 12 months. In 2025, we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded. So the murder rate was quite high, and we achieved the largest drop in the murder rate ever recorded to the lowest level in 125 years. That's the year 1900. And that's despite the fact that many people came in from prisons and from very rough countries and from mental institutions and from lots of other places, drug dealers, others. They came in illegally during the Biden administration. We've gotten many of them out, but we still have some that we're looking for, quite a few that we're still looking for, but we've gotten over 11,888 murderers were allowed into our country. We've gotten a lot of them out. We've gotten some, we put them in jail. We don't even trust the country to send them because they'll come back in maybe. We put them in jail. 11,888 murders, more than half of which have committed more than one murder. That's what they allowed in. They can never be forgotten for the horrible things they've done to this country. Fentanyl coming across our border is now down by 61%. 61%. And coming in by water, by sea, by ocean is down 97%. Can you imagine? Thanks to our Republican majorities in Congress, we passed the largest tax cuts in American history. All Democrats voted against the tax cuts. putting more money in Americans' pockets this year. The typical family got tax refunds of nearly almost close to $5,000. The stock market has set 68 all-time record highs since the election. So 68 days, we hit all-time highs. We're right there now. And the average 401k, and that's despite the conflict. I don't call it a war, I call it a conflict. Despite the conflict with Venezuela, who no longer has a Navy, no longer has an Air Force, no longer has a lot of people that were leading the country into very bad places. Their leadership is gone. Their second rung leadership is gone, and we're dealing with their third, half of their third, because half of their third is gone too. The average 401k is up almost $30,000 since I took office. So the Americans are benefiting working today. We have the most working, and we have 401ks at their all-time high, highest they've ever been. And that goes along with the stock market, which is the highest it's ever been. Under my most favored nation agreements, this is something that I wish the media would talk about, because to me it's one of the biggest things ever to happen in our country. Certainly as to medical, anything having to do with medical, because drug prices, we're delivering record-setting discounts on prescription drugs with price differences of 400, 500, and even 600% at the trumprx.gov. We recently added nearly 1,000 low-cost generics to the website. So we have drugs down 400, 500, 600%. Now you could say 80, 90, 70, 60, 50% if you want. There are two ways. It depends on the way you ask the question. But a pill that would sell in Germany or in, let's say, in London for $10, we're selling for here for $130. And I got the countries to all agree. Otherwise, they would have had to pay big tariffs. I don't want to go into it, but I had some very interesting discussions. They said vehemently no, and then when I said, that's all right, we're going to charge you a 50% tariff on everything you sell into America, they said, well, like we said, we'll say yes. And every single country agreed, and every drug company agreed. So we have most favored nation. So we were paying the highest drug prices in the world. Now we're paying the lowest drug prices in the world. So that pill that I talked about would go from $10 to $20. The world is bigger than the U.S. Hard to believe, but it's true. So it's not like you cut it in the middle. They just had to go up a little bit, but a little bit is a doubling of a price. So a little bit's a lot. So the pill would go from $10 to $20, and we'd go from $130 to $20. Think of that. So we would get, if you remember, some of you were at the news conference I had in my first term where I got the prices down 1/8%, 1/4% my first term. And I was so proud of it because drug prices hadn't come down in 28 years, and I was the first one to do it. But now I'm getting them down, not 1/8%, I'm getting them down 400, 500, 600. Or if you want to use it a different way, you could say 70%, 80%, 90%, 50%. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. And I got that through, well, everybody knew it was taking place, but we paid the highest prices anywhere in the world. Now we're paying the lowest prices anywhere in the world, and the press refuses to write about it. I think it's the biggest thing. And for healthcare, so much of it is prescription drug prices and drug prices. And with them coming down, the healthcare is going to come down very substantially. We recently added nearly 1,000 low-cost generics too, as I said, and that's 1,000 drugs, and it's all on. And this was not given by me. This was given by Dr. Oz and Bobby, and I, wasn't sure whether or not I loved the idea, but they said we want to use trumprx.gov is what it is, and it's the hottest site, I think, anywhere on the planet, from what I understand, Bobby, right? It's really great. People are calling up and they're buying drugs for literally a fraction of the price, and it should be the biggest story. And on that alone, we should win the midterms. On that alone, we should win the midterms. But the press doesn't talk about it. It's the biggest thing to happen in the drug industry ever, maybe, ever, and the press doesn't even want to write stories about it. We made the largest ever investment in U.S. military, $1 trillion, and we're asking actually for $1.5 trillion for the coming year. And we have the strongest military anywhere in the world, as you know. You saw what we did with Venezuela, that worked out very quickly, and we're doing really equally as well with, but again, people don't want to write about it, with Iran. Iran is very much intent. They want very much to make a deal. So far, they haven't gotten there. We're not satisfied with it, but we will be. We will be either that or we'll have to just finish the job. But their Navy is gone, as I've said 1,000 times. Their Navy is gone. Their Air Force is gone. Everything's gone, and they're negotiating on fumes. But we'll see what happens. Maybe we have to go back and finish it. Maybe we don't. Right now, I mean, you can speak to Steve Witkoff and Jared. They're doing a good job. But right now, I think it looks like they want to just make a deal. They want to. They have, I don't think they have a choice. They're just going back to the internet because they're getting clobbered. Their economy is in free fall. They have 250% inflation. Their money has no value. Their whole economic system is broken down. They thought they were going to outweight me. You know, we'll outweight him. He's got the midterms. I don't care about the midterms. Look what happened last night. That was the prelude to the midterms. People understand it. They know that. Very simple. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapon. I'm doing that for the world. I'm not doing it just for us. And we've had great support from other nations, by the way. We don't need it at all, but we've had great support from other nations. The problem is you always get the support when you don't need it. When you need it, you don't get the support. With Operation Epic Fury, our warriors are ensuring that the world's #1 state sponsor of terror never obtains a nuclear weapon, and they won't. Under the leadership of Vice President J.D. Vance, very proud of this, the White House Task Force to eliminate fraud is waging war on waste, fraud, theft, and abuse like nobody's ever seen before. He looks like Elliot Ness. Do you ever see Elliot Ness? I'm telling you, the guys are up there, we're all central casting, standing behind. What a group of people. No, it looks like a movie. I'm going to make a movie out of it, I think. And they're finding billions and billions and billions of dollars. And I just said, that's good. He said, you haven't seen anything yet. Just said that. And, you know, if he does really great, we'll have a balanced budget without having to do anything. This is the kind of money they stole. They're crooks. They're thieves. And I hope that Todd is going to do a real job. These are crooked people. These are thieves. This isn't like a mistake. Just talking about one person, he got hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars for securing one man, for taking care of one elderly man. He was a service. He got paid millions of dollars for taking care of one man. Total crook. They're all crooks. The Somalians, what they've done to Minnesota, the Somalians, they're crooked as hell. Ilhan Omar, crooked as hell. They're all crooks. And we got them. We got them. Now we're putting the clamps on. But boy, I tell you, that's an impressive group of guys that you have behind you. I was watching that, and a couple of very strong women, too. But I was watching that last night. I said, I'm proud of you guys. In 2 months, we've exposed tens of billions of dollars of defrauded taxpayer money, prosecuted numerous fraudsters, Todd, and stopped billions of suspicious payments, very suspicious. Oh, you haven't seen anything yet? What do you see? I'm getting reports from Todd, from JD. I've never seen anything like it. The kind of, just hundreds of billions of dollars was stolen. And no other administration would do what we're doing. Just let it go. Everybody was getting rich. And I think we have a chance to save Social Security without doing anything to it by just the numbers of fraudulent people on Social Security, people that are 115 years old, 125 years old, getting payments. It's funny, I said, oh, do those payments get turned back? No, they accept them. Well, somebody's getting the payment. It's not a person that's 125 years old. But that's the least of it. The numbers that we're finding out, we have great people in Social Security. We're going to make our Social Security so strong, so good that you've never seen anything like it. We're going to protect. I said right from the beginning, we're going to protect our people in Social Security. If the Democrats ever got in, you wouldn't have said Social Security would be bankrupt. People wouldn't be getting anything. Last week, they took down 2 of the largest Medicaid fraud cases in Minnesota history, as well as the largest autism fraud case ever charged by the federal government. You saw that with millions of dollars just being stolen. Everybody had autism. Everybody had autism, they said. It was incredible, actually. And I mean, I've just seen I see what they're doing. You haven't seen anything yet. So congratulations, JD. Be vicious like they are. They're violent people. They're violent, vicious scum. Before asking Vice President Vance to speak about these efforts, I want to express our tremendous gratitude to our outgoing Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, who's a terrific person, actually. Come up with some findings that were pretty good. And Tulsi's worked tirelessly to restore trust and focus on the intelligence, and with the intelligence community. They all respected her. They listened to her. She gave us leads that were pretty much, people thought they were dead, and they weren't dead. They were right there, and she was able to expose a lot of things that we used at the FBI with Cash and with Todd and with JD and everybody else. It was amazing. She dramatically reformed the Office of Director of National Intelligence and cutting the staff by 40%, and she prevented countless terrorists and cartel members from entering the United States. She exposed mountains of evidence related to the Russia hoax, probably the greatest hoax in the history of our country. Although, when you look at the fraud coming out, there's a lot of them. I mean, honestly, there's a lot of them. But the Russia hoax, a great hoax, a very dangerous hoax too, and revoked security clearances of officials involved, and she declassified numerous historic documents of special public interest, including related to the JFK and RFK assassinations, which everybody wanted to see. And we're now releasing a lot of things having to do with space. It's people are very interested in it. It actually became the #1 topic. We're releasing a lot of information having to do with extraterrestrial things, and people are totally fascinated by it. It's amazing. I wasn't sure if they would enjoy it. It's literally trending #1. Can you believe it? So a lot of people out there are like it, but we're releasing all of that information. And Tulsi, we're praying for you and for your husband. Her husband's not feeling great, but he's going to feel great soon. You're going to get him better. And he's a wonderful guy. So just say hello and thank you for the great work you've done. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. And now I'd like to ask JD to say a few words about the war on fraud, followed by Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche, who's doing fantastically, and Secretary of State Marco Rubio, another one. I mean, we have great people. And the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth, Central Casting. He loves war. I don't like it. He's a good man. And Scott Bessent, you talk about a guy doing a job. It's been fantastic. Thank you, Scott. Really fantastic. And a lot of the success that we're having with other countries is what you've been able to do and find. And SBA Administrator Kelly Loeffler, and all of the people here have been great. We're going to just do those few, and maybe if you have some questions, we'll go to others. But everybody around here has got a lot to say, but we did that once and it lasted for like 4 or 5 hours. It was a little much. We want to be open. So now if I do this way, they'll say, he didn't let anybody talk. But let's start with JD, and you can talk about a really, really important thing, bringing our country back to honesty. A tremendous amount of money is involved. Go ahead. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Well, first of all, thank you for your leadership, sir, and for making it possible. I often find in the fraud task force that there sometimes are barriers that we need to break down, agencies that need to coordinate, and I'll come to the president and say, Mr. President, I need your permission to do, they'll say, for what? For the fraud task force, and he'll cut me off and say, yes, go do it. So the fact that we have dedicated presidential leadership is really what's made this possible, because it does require, we've got great people around the table, but sometimes these agencies don't know how to work together at the lower level, and that's one of the things we've had to turn on and force with the fraud task force. So I want to shout out just a few all-stars here. Linda at the Department of Education has been amazing at finding student loan fraud. You've got people who are either illegal aliens or aren't even actually real human beings who are getting hundreds of millions of dollars from the Department of Education for student loans. We have cut that off. We found a lot. We're going to find a lot more. Scott at HUD has been amazing, because a lot of the fraud that we see is housing fraud, people claiming benefits that they're not entitled to, or again, sir, sometimes completely made up people who exist purely to collect fraudulent money from the American taxpayer. Brooke at the Department of Agriculture, something I had no idea until I started this work, sir, that we send hundreds of billions of dollars to the states to administer the food stamp program. The federal government has no insight into whether those food stamps are going to people who are legally entitled or whether those people actually even exist. And so we're working on a number of mechanisms to actually force the states to verify that the people who receive these benefits are actually entitled to them. And I could go down the list. I've gotten a lot of support from a lot of people in this room. Bobby Kennedy and Dr. Oz have been particular all-stars on this, and Kim at H&HS. What they've done with the Medicaid fraud, we found tens of billions of dollars in Medicaid and Medicare fraud just from their hard work. We've cut that off, and yes, Mr. President, we're going to find a lot more. The final thing I want to say, Mr. President, and I know that Todd maybe has something to say about this as well, but I always try to remind the American people, and certainly remind the cabinet officials. By the way, Kelly at SBA has found tens of billions of dollars that were from fraudulent loans that were giving under the Biden administration, and we've now cut that off and recovered a lot of that money. So this has been a whole of government effort, Mr. President. The team really deserves a great deal of credit here. But the final point I want to make, sir, is I always try to remind the American people that fraud is fundamentally a crime with two victims. The most obvious victim are the American taxpayer. They pay their taxes, they expect the money to go where it should go, and that's not happening because of the fraudsters. But there are also victims, people who benefit from these programs that don't exist if we're not actually taking care of the fraud issue. And let me just give one example to build on something you said earlier, sir. One of the people that Todd just prosecuted was a person who was collecting a lot of money from the American taxpayer to take care of elderly citizens, people who worked their entire lives, paid their taxes, should have had dignity and nobility in old age, but it was deprived from them from fraudsters who say that they're taking care of them, who collect a check to take care of them, but then abuse and neglect these people. And particularly one man who died because he wasn't getting adequate care, and that guy was still collecting benefits to take care of a person who he had completely neglected. So not only do you have an American taxpayer who's paying into these programs, you have an elderly citizen deprived of his dignity because we're not going after the fraudsters. Well, now we are.
How much money did he get?
Sir, hundreds of thousands of dollars, maybe more than that, but we think that that exact type of fraud has been replayed all over our country. That particular case was outside of Minneapolis. We expect that there are tens of thousands of people who are collecting fraudulent money to take care of people, and they're not actually taking care of them. We're, of course, going to get to the root of as much of it as we can. But again, sir, it's been, I wouldn't say fun, because you find out how much people have been taken advantage of, but it's certainly very good and valuable work. So thank you for giving me the opportunity to do it.
Well, thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Attorney General, please.
I'll just continue to talk about what the Vice President was just talking about. The way that we are actually, it's one thing to uncover fraud, which we've done, and that's part of it, but it's also prosecuting the bad guys that are doing it and stopping it from continuing. And that's where you have, everybody in this room has inspector generals. And for many years, these really hardworking law enforcement members would identify fraud, and nobody did anything about it. DOJ prosecuted it, but spent a very little resources on that. So what we've done just in the past 51 days, over 400 law enforcement actions in this country related to major fraud. That's search warrants, that's arrests, that's convictions, that's indictments that are filed, and that's just 51 days. And it's not just the great prosecutors. It's the FBI agents, it's DHS and HSI agents. It's everybody in this room that has inspector generals that are now they have been freed up, and it's because of you. It's because of the Vice President saying this is going to be a priority of what we are going to do. Not just the Department of Justice, even though we're the prosecutors that are putting bad guys in jail. It's also the law enforcement at every agency, FBI and DHS. And so we're already seeing results. We had a $1 billion fraud, a conviction at trial last week out of Florida. And this was an organization that was stealing from senior citizens in Florida, duping them. There were call centers set up in the Philippines, and they were duping them to buy medical equipment that they didn't need, that they would never get, and that the taxpayers paid for. And so that's a good win. We arrested 15 guys in Minnesota last week. The Vice President mentioned one of them. These are people that are not that they're just stealing, and many of them are here illegally. And so you have people who are in this country illegally who are then taking advantage, and the Vice President says something a lot that resonates with me. The generosity of the American people, the generosity of everybody in this room, the leadership, to take care of the people in this country that are the most, that deserve it the most. Children who are supposed to get food at school, and you have men just stealing, taking that money. And so that's what we're focused on. We are standing up, as you know, Mr. President, you allowed us to stand up a new division at the Department of Justice. It's our entire existence of that division is to combat what we're talking about. And then every U.S. Attorney's office is now focused on it as well. So this is something that will result in a better place for every citizen in this country and save money, a lot of money, and also it's the right thing to do for our tax dollars, Mr. President.
And billions of dollars was given out just very quickly before Biden left office. Billions and billions were given out. And I mean, I know of many cases, but one, I don't know what's happened with it, but I think you're looking at it. I know Lee was involved in it environmentally. Stacey Abrams was given $2 billion for an account that had $103 in it, an environmental fraud, I guess. And she had $103 in this newly opened account. And before leaving business, they put $2 billion into the account. And they had no reason for existence. They were unable to say what they did with it. $2 billion. Lee, do you want to just mention something about that?
Well, thanks to your leadership, Mr. President, that was canceled. And they no longer have access to that $2 billion.
They fought like hell. They wanted that money. Go ahead.
In fact, it was over $29 billion that have it's now been canceled at EPA. You told us to make it a priority. This happened as soon as you came in. After the election, before your inauguration, they were caught on video saying that they were rushing to get billions of dollars out the door before you're swearing in because they were afraid that once you were sworn in, you were going to stop it. Well, that part, they were right.
We did. Yeah, we did. Great job.
And we're happy to do it, Mr. President. And the Department of Justice under Todd Blanche's leadership, they just secured another big win in an appeals court on some recently canceled grants for different agencies. So great attorneys making sure that this accountability is delivered over the finish line. It's been a great team effort.
And we're building more, most importantly, we're building more factories and plants in the United States now than at any time ever before. $18 trillion coming in. That's not including the 12th month. That's 11. And I say it often that the Biden administration had much less than $1 trillion, and we have $18 trillion. And when those final numbers come up, they'll be even higher than that. That's a record in the history of the world. No country has ever done that. And that money's going into plants, and you are giving them very fast approvals, thorough and environmentally correct, but fast approvals, and you're doing a fantastic job. Thank you very much. Another man doing a fantastic job, I think we all agree, is Marco. You're all over the place, right? I watched you last night in 3 different locations. So tell us about Iran.
Well, first of all, the bottom line is Iran's never going to have a nuclear weapon. And if recent events have done anything, is just remind us once again that they are the world's leading sponsor of terrorism. And they can never have a nuclear weapon. Now, the president's preference, Mr. President, your preference is told us repeatedly, is always to negotiate these things and to figure out if you can have agreements. Diplomacy is always the first option. And we continue to work on that through your envoys, Mr. Witkoff and Kushner and others, the vice president, who've been very involved. And if there's an agreement to be made, we want that to be made. I think there's been some progress and some interest, and we'll see over the next few hours and days whether progress could be made. I just want to remind everybody, Mr. President, you know this well, you have other options available to you if that doesn't work. But the bottom line is that we prefer the negotiated diplomatic route, and we're going to give it every chance to succeed. I know you're giving it every chance to succeed, Mr. President, but here's the bottom line, because I keep getting asked, what is this all about? It's very simple. Iran and these people in charge of Iran can never have a nuclear weapon, and they will never have a nuclear weapon, and they most certainly will not have one as long as you're President of the United States. On that point, it's very clear. Just 2 quick things I want to touch upon. One, you touched upon the border and security. Part of securing our border is dealing with the people that are in this country unlawfully, many of whom do not want to go back to the country that they originally came from for a variety of reasons. Either we can't send them there or some judge ties us up. And one of the key things we have achieved is now 20 countries have signed third country national agreements, meaning these are safe countries where individuals who refuse to go back to their country of origin can be sent to that country instead. We've gotten 20 countries now around the world who have signed agreements that allow us to deport people to those places. What often happens when you go to the person who's here unlawfully and say, we're going to send you to this third country, is all of a sudden they decide they'd rather go back to their home country instead. So it gives the ability to enforce our laws, and we work very closely with the Department of Homeland Security on that front. Something else that I know is concerning people, because it's on the news, is Ebola. Our number one obligation, we're involved in foreign policy, but even our foreign policy, the number one priority of our foreign policy is to protect the American people. We cannot and will not allow any cases of Ebola to enter the United States. And so the State Department and other agencies represented here, the Centers for Disease Control, HHS, others are working very, very hard to contain this crisis to the countries where it's currently located, particularly the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so we've surged assistance to make sure that is being contained there. And obviously, multiple agencies involved here are also very involved in tracking people, just to make sure that nobody comes into this country that has Ebola and creates a problem for us. And we feel like we've got good efforts in place to do that, and Americans should feel assured that the President and his administration is doing everything we can to protect them on that front. My last point, you said I was all over the place. One of the places I stopped in last night was to initial the Trump Route for Prosperity in Armenia. This is a key linchpin of the peace deal that you were able to achieve between Armenia and Azerbaijan. And in addition to that, we also signed a critical minerals MOU with them and a strategic engagement one as well. So just a reminder of another war you helped to settle, Mr. President. But from that now we are seeing the emergence of a great new relationship with Armenia that really had grown stagnant for a very long period of time. So we're doing well on that front as well. Thank you.
And could I just ask you, Cuba and Venezuela, what's going on there?
Well, interesting. On Venezuela, that process continues, that three-phase process, of obviously stabilization, recovery, and transition. I would just say, just since January 3rd of this year, okay, and I think this number's right, and Chris or Doug can correct me on this, but I think over 10 million barrels of Venezuelan oil have been delivered to the United States since the 3rd of January. That industry is being professionalized for the first time ever. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. They are selling oil in the market at market rates. The money's going to an account in the United States, controlled and monitored by Treasury, audited by KPMG, and it's for the first time ever the money's not being stolen. It's going to the benefit of the Venezuelan people. Cuba's in a lot of trouble because, unfortunately for them, it's run by a bunch of incompetent communists. And being communist is bad. Being an incompetent communist is like the worst. And but the country's been taken over by this company called Gaesa that basically controls 70% of the economy. None of the money in that company goes to help the Cuban people. None of it. So we'll be talking to them. We'll be working on it. We want something good for the Cuban people, and hopefully there'll be a good outcome there for them. There needs to be. It's 90 miles from our shores. And having a failed state 90 miles from our shores is a threat to the national security of the United States.
So we're producing right now more oil by double than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. There's never been anything like that. We don't need oil. We don't need the Straits. We don't need anything. But we have more oil now being produced by 2 times than Russia and Saudi Arabia combined. It's a great stat. Do you want to say something about that?
Well, I would, President Trump, under your leadership, we've opened up lease sales on public land. This is land that was put away for the benefit and the use of the American people, like the Strategic Petroleum Reserve in Alaska. The Biden administration had illegally stopped holding lease sales during their administration. President Trump famously said, drill, baby, drill, but before you can drill, you've got to open public lands. Between the lease sales that have happened in the Permian, in the Bakken, and on the North Slope, just since January of this year, it's over $4 billion of revenue has come into the Treasury. That's 13 times more than the Biden administration brought in on lease sales in the entire 4 years they're in office. Sir, your policies brought that in 5 months. So with that, a lot of excitement, a lot of activity. We also inherited just in one district in Carlsbad, New Mexico, 5,600 unprocessed applications to drill for oil and gas on public land. And when we're drilling on public land, those companies pay a royalty, and that money comes to all of our citizens, and it goes to local school districts, and it goes to states. It is the core of the economy in parts of our country. The team down there working for the Department of Interior, Bureau of Land Management, has dropped that by 91%. It's one of the reasons why they had a record lease sale. It's because now people go, I can bid on federal land and I'm going to get a permit to drill, and it's not going to take me 5 years to get it. I'm going to get it in a month or less. And so it's exciting to see your vision. And of course, with this energy dominance, us, as you just noted, largest oil producer in the world, largest natural gas producer in the world, largest natural gas exporter. This is an opportunity for us to bring prosperity and affordability here at home, but also bring peace abroad. So, President Trump, your energy dominance strategy with Chris Wright, Lee Zeldin, all the people that are working on this, people around the room, it's been really incredible. And of course, you mentioned Venezuela, but all that flowing to our Gulf Coast refineries is also helping to keep the price of gas down at home. So again, it's an amazing transformation. Bottom line is the center of geopolitics around energy has moved from other parts of the world to the Western Hemisphere in the last 5 months. You turn Venezuela from a sanctioned adversary into a strategic ally in 45 minutes. Never happened in history before. And what's going on in Alaska? When I was there last week in Alaska, the North Slope, 80,000 barrels a day coming online at Pica. That wouldn't have happened with you. It's up by Willow on the North Slope. That's going into the Alaska pipeline. 20% increase just off that one field. So amazing work. Energy's a high-tech industry, and those guys are crushing it, and they're loving the fact that they can provide affordable, reliable, secure energy for America.
And we're working very hard in California. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but California has tremendous oil reserves. Used to be number 3 in the nation, and the radical left has just wiped it out. And we're working very hard to get that open again and get it so the people, their gasoline prices, their lack of energy is just staggering. It's staggering. And we're actually making very good progress. Even people that were against that at one point, now they're saying, wow, that'd be great. But people don't realize it was one of the, right, Chris, it was one of the top drilling states, one of the, I would say in terms of reserves, as among the top in the country. Nobody thinks of that with California. Everything was just closed down, really violently closed down. And we're opening up some of it, and we're being met with actually great spirit, because they're paying so much for gasoline that they don't have to be doing that. And they have a very incompetent group of leaders, like grossly incompetent. So I think that's going to be something. On a slightly smaller subject, while Doug was speaking, Department of Interior, he and his people have done a fantastic job on D.C. D.C. is looking beautiful. The fountains are almost all open. We had 28 of them. And we have one in particular, a very long lake, we call it, the reflecting lake, between the Lincoln Monument. Nobody's ever seen anything like it. You take a look at, between Lincoln and Washington, you have the longest, like 2,400 feet long. That's longer than the tallest building in the world if you set it on its side. And it's almost 200 feet wide. And actually it was built in 1922, and from 1922 on, it really never worked. It always leaked, and it was a problem, and a lot of things. And hundreds of millions was spent. The Biden administration and the Obama administration spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to get it to work, and they failed. And we'll be spending, you'll give me a number, but I think it's a very low number. It's like in the number that we originally talked about, where we cleaned it, we fumigated it. We had 10 major truck dumpsters of garbage taken out. Can you believe it? A friend of mine came in, a very substantial person from Germany, wanted to see the Washington Monument. I wanted to see the Lincoln Memorial. And he said, I look, but that horrible reflecting pond is disgusting. It's filthy, dirty, and disgusting. I said, really? I drove down. I said, Secret Service, let's take a drive. And we went down. I said, that's terrible. And for the most part, it didn't work. I mean, they wouldn't even have water in there. But when they did, it was just dirty, filthy water that leaked out. And we got to work on it. And it was supposed to cost almost $400 million, because it's like putting the skin on a skyscraper, but bigger, much bigger. many skyscrapers, you could almost say, other than for the world's tallest. Think of it, the world's tallest skyscraper is shorter than 2,400 feet. So we went to work, and over the years I built hundreds of pools. I build them every time I built a building. I always like to build Olympic-sized swimming pools, and I was very aware of swimming pool, what goes into making a swimming pool. It's not as simple as people think. You never want it to leak. You want to have beautiful surface. I said, you know, I have an idea, Doug. We sat down. I said, let's take that long thing where we're going to fix it with concrete, which leaks, concrete, all sorts of other materials that all leak and don't look good. They're gray. And, you know, swimming pool, I have a swimming pool right up the road. I built it 22 years ago. It's perfect. I said, does it ever leak? No. It's perfect. Good contractors. I actually called in a couple of the contractors, got some ideas from them, and I gave it to Doug, and Doug's done an unbelievable job. And so they were going to spend maybe $400 million. I don't know. You never know with cost overruns and everything, but it was going to take years to build, 3 years, 4 years. And we'll have it done before July 4th, substantially before July 4th. If we didn't have such bad weather the last 4 or 5 days, we could have been almost done. You can't do the substance of the rain. And what they did is they cleaned it. They took out, as I said, more than 10 dumpsters of garbage with shovels. It was disgusting. Oh, every corner had massive amounts of, I guess that's the way the tide goes, but they had massive amounts of garbage. We then steam cleaned it. We then sandblasted it, and then we pebble blasted it. It's a bigger version of sand. We made the surface as good as it can be, and we're now covering it with the most beautiful blue, very thick. You think of it as a very sophisticated form of rubber. No leaks, no problems, and it's beautiful. It's called American Flag Blue. That was the color we chose, and we are probably 70% finished with it. It's going to be finished. The hard part's done. And then we decided to do much more than when originally I thought I was just going to do the surface, but we said the problem is the outer ring looks pretty bad too, where you walk on. So we sandblasted that. This is all additional work. We didn't want to do, when you do something like this, when you do the one, you think the other looked okay, but then when the other, you see the new surface, the old stuff that looked okay looks really bad. So we cleaned that, sandblasted it, the walkways, all of it. It's a tremendous amount of area. It's thousands of feet long, very wide. This is where the people stand, not the water part, the dry part. And we had a combination of granite and stone, and we're pointing it, fixing it. The joints were terrible, everything. The whole place was a mess. And when it opens in a couple of weeks, long before July 4th. We want to have it for July 4th weekend, but it'll be long before that. You will see something that's really going to be beautiful. And now we're looking at the World War II fountain, because that's also in pretty bad shape. On the bottom, we're going to duplicate it, I think, with maybe with a slightly different color. Actually, we'll go with a lighter color. But Doug and I have a lot of fun doing it. Your staff is fantastic. They've really worked well. But the concept, so think of it, instead of spending $200, $300, $400 million, and it will never work. We're going to spend like $10 million, maybe $12 million. Instead of spending 4 years, we're going to spend, like if you add it all up, like a couple of months. And instead of going through 4 4th of Julys as a horrible construction site, we're going to have it open before the 4th of July. And the difference is it's better. Somebody said, oh, well, but it's not the same. Some of the fake news would say, well, but it's not. No, it's like the pen store. The pen is better at $2 than it was at $2,000. This is the same thing. This is far better. Won't leak. It'll last for 50 years, maybe 100 years. They didn't even know. I said, how long will this last? Oh, I think you'll get 50 years out of it. We did the swimming pool treatment, but they said, sir, for a little more money, we can get industrial strength. I said, that sounds good to me. Same color, same everything, same stuff, but it's actually much stronger. It's used for industrial. I said, I love that. So we're going to have that open. It's going to be really, really beautiful. And it's a very important thing. We can't have people looking at the Washington Monument, going, the memorial. If you take a look, the Lincoln Memorial It was built, I guess, a little after the Lincoln War. It's embarrassing. It was so horrible. I never saw anything like it. It was filthy dirty. It was Biden. And they spent, between the two of them, they spent hundreds of millions of dollars trying to fix this thing. Now, when Obama did it, he spent way over $100 million. And they had a great idea. Let's use the water from the Potomac. Because environmentally, they liked it. Somebody said that was good. But the water from the Potomac was not suitable for this, to put it mildly. It was disgusting what happened. And so they spent hundreds of millions, over $100 million, and they immediately closed it. It was closed for many months and nobody did anything. It was closed. It's basically been closed. But go back to 1922. It was always sort of, people think of it as beautiful, but it was always a mess. It's going to be unbelievable. It will be unbelievable. It's actually exciting. I want to ride over there today if I can. You know, I always have a problem. Secret Service isn't in love with my walking along, checking the sidewalk, the new sidewalk, to see whether or not they pointed it correctly. But they do. We have great contractors doing the job. But we'll spend a very tiny amount of money, and it'll be better than it ever was when it was built in 1922. It's very exciting, actually. To me, I love construction. It's very exciting. And we do many things. We did 28 or 29 fountains. I made a contribution to redoing Lafayette Park. That's the entrance to the White House, and it was an embarrassment. The floors were broken. They had bricks. Some of the bricks were missing. You know where they're missing? They took them out to throw at people. We're going with them. It's going to be a world-class park. It'll be open pretty soon. They're doing a lot of work over there. That was a contribution that I made with some other people. And it's going to be really beautiful. That was really the front door to the White House, but you couldn't even use it. It was so terrible. People would come to the White House, and it was so terrible. So with that, I'm going to ask Pete to talk about some of our great success.
Yes, sir.
Including Venezuela, you might talk.
Absolutely, sir. I think actually your efforts on the reflecting pool are actually a great segue. If you look at Washington and Lincoln, these are two men that faced monumental tasks and stood up in historic fashion and delivered for the American people. And when you step back and look at 47 years of what Iran waged war against us and our people, there's only one man over the course of both presidency who has stood up and said they will never get a nuclear weapon, as Marco said. So whether it was Qasem Soleimani, whether it was scrapping the Obama deal that was going to give them a weapon, whether it was the 12-day war or Operation Midnight Hammer, you created the conditions to ensure the American people and the world are safeguarded from this generational threat. And so when you authorized Operation Epic Fury, just like you talked about with the reflecting pool, we didn't do the same old thing the way we'd done it in the past after Iraq and Afghanistan, the way we waged wars. Instead, you said, we're going to do this smart, we're going to do it overwhelming, we're going to use maximum lethality, and we're going to bring them to their knees. And so whether it's their Navy that's at the bottom of the Persian Gulf, their Air Force, their air defenses, or their defense industrial base, they may have missiles, but they can't build more right now, and they can't build more drones right now, and they can't build more ships. And so they came and cried uncle to talk, which Steve and Jared and the Vice President and others are doing so ably. And during that time, we put in a world-class blockade, and they haven't been able to bring anything in or anything out from Iranian ports. And we know from the intel that their economy is hurting big time because that is their lifeblood. And again, bringing them to the table. So whether it is through the efforts of your negotiators that they ensure that they never have a nuclear weapon, or we have to go back to the War Department to finish the job that way, we're prepared to do that. And I think even our reach on the dark fleet of Iranian tankers, no Iranian tanker around the globe is safe. And we've seen seizures all around the globe, again, choking off their economic lifeblood. But all of this is possible, Mr. President, thanks to the investments that you've made in this department, firing on all cylinders. For the second year in a row, we're at historic recruitment rates. Last year, we said that here. This year, we beat it even faster. The American people are excited about what you're bringing to our department. Our defense industrial base, $50 billion in private investments because of the meetings you've held Defense manufacturers are investing in new plants and new manufacturing, new production lines, so that we're getting weapons faster than ever. And then the $1.5 trillion that you've committed to the department going forward, that's 1 million American jobs. 1 million American manufacturing jobs. That's Golden Dome for America, that's F-47, that's B-21, that's 50 billion in drones. We're going to lead the world in drones, shaving years off of production of all of those, everything under budget and ahead of schedule, which is what the warfighter deserves. And we saw it, you mentioned Venezuela, Mr. President, you saw it on display there. Think of the fact that our Southcom commander just landed via helicopter at our embassy peacefully at the welcome of the Venezuelans because we're now partnering with them, hopefully, even on the counter-cartel mission as we secure our hemisphere. So we've secured that southwest border. We're going to war with the cartels through the America's Counter-Cartel Coalition. Venezuela is a big part of securing our energy future and defending the homeland. And then I just want to note one more thing to give you a sense of how committed this president is. Maybe a year ago, he heard the call of Nigerian Christians who were being targeted and killed by ISIS in Nigeria. And he said, Pete, I want the War Department to focus on ensuring that we do everything we can to protect those Christians. Partnerships like that can take time behind the scenes, but he never wavered on it. And we got the assets there, and over the last month, and there hasn't been much coverage of this, we killed ISIS #2 in Nigeria, who is most responsible for killing Christians and trying to target the U.S. homeland, and have since, because of the intel we gathered, killed hundreds of ISIS members who were targeting and killing Christians in Nigeria, creating a whole new opportunity there. So there's a lot of things we do that the media pays attention to, and a lot of things that the president empowers the department to do on behalf of the American people that he deserves great credit for.
Thank you. Great job. You're doing a great job. I just want to say on recruitment, we're very proud of the fact that for the previous 4 years, previous administration, they couldn't recruit people. And that included, by the way, police and firemen and others. They were not proud of our country. And they couldn't recruit. Anybody with a uniform was having a hard time recruiting. And they set record low numbers. They were way, way behind. And literally from November 5th it started. It started even before we got going. But from the time we won the election to now, we've had numbers of recruitment, the likes of which we've never had. Record recruitment in every single branch, and that includes police and firemen. Record recruitment, so we're very proud of that. Thank you. Great job. Thank you, sir. Kelly, please.
Mr. President, you have made us a nation of builders again. You're leading us to the greatest economy that the world has ever known. And I see that every week as I travel this country, main streets across dozens of states, from Alaska to Maine. I've been in many of those states 2 or 3 times. I hear it everywhere I go. Please thank the president for putting us back on track. They thank you. They love you. They want more of what we're doing: tax cuts, deregulation, fair trade, energy dominance. Small businesses are spring-loaded, and we see that in the jobs numbers. In the last 2 months alone, we've created over 300,000 private sector jobs in this country. Most jobs are created by small businesses, 2 out of 3. And small businesses, as you know, make up 99% of all businesses in this country and account for half of our GDP. So when that part of the economy is finally working again, they've gotten out from $5 trillion of regulation that the Biden administration put on hardworking small businesses. They penalized growth, investment, hard work, and success. But thanks to the working family tax cuts that every single Democrat voted against, hardworking families, the welders, the waitresses that I meet on factory floors across this country, from Pennsylvania to New Mexico, where I'll be tomorrow. Brooke and I are going to Arizona tonight. So we see this everywhere we go. It's one of the most underreported stories in the media. Main Street is back, and that's because America first. I'll tell you the other thing about fraud. Small businesses are particularly hurt by the fraud because they're some of our biggest taxpayers in the country. And they show up every day. They work hard to provide for their employees, to build their businesses. They're doing it the honest way. And they see fraudsters taking from the American people. It's taxpayer money. And so you think about, at the SBA, we found $200 billion in fraudulent PPP loans that the Biden administration tried to hide hide and forgive and sweep under the rug. We've turned the first $22 billion of that over to Treasury for collections and to DOJ for prosecution. Our Inspector General is already announcing that people are going to jail. There are jail sentences now being served. We've announced that 140,000 people have been barred from ever getting SBA loans again, defrauding the government for about $9 billion. So we are going to continue our work under the great leadership of Vice President Vance and appreciate the partnership because it's really accelerated our ability to get the job done. But then just back to small businesses. We have record business formation in this country. That's another story that the media won't tell you. Over 500,000 businesses on average a month this year. So it's not just record people working, strong job creation, business formation at all-time records in this country, but we have manufacturing expansion 4 consecutive months. That means that's a leading indicator, meaning that we have expansion coming. Another story the media won't tell you, 98% of all manufacturers are small businesses. 75% of our defense industrial base is small business. They're our main exporters. And so America first, free trade, fair trade, deregulation, tax cuts, and energy dominance is helping workers on Main Street, and that's why they tell you to tell me to tell you, Mr. President, thank you, and they love you.
Well, thank you very much. Great job. Thank you, Kelly. And I just say, we went to China last week. We had an amazing meeting with President Xi. The relationship's very good. We're doing a lot of business with China now, but it's not where they were ripping us off. For years and years, they ripped us off like nobody ever got ripped off. Now it's a very profitable business that we do with China. And they respect our country again. We have the strongest military in the world by far. They respect our country again. Scott, please.
Sir, on the economy, 2 words, resilience and prosperity. The continued resilience of the economy speaks for itself, even during the Iran conflict, and it speaks to the strength of your leadership. Pro-growth policies are creating conditions for American families and businesses to prosper. We're entering the second half of our 250th anniversary year with renewed optimism and momentum. It has never been a better time to be an American, and as you said earlier, we have a record number of Americans working. The economy that you are building is not only strong, but secure and resilient and better positioned to compete globally. Real GDP has risen 2.7% over the past 4 quarters, something that many economists said couldn't be done. In the first quarter of 2026, despite the Iran conflict, GDP grew at a 2% annual rate. The Atlanta Fed GDP now is predicting 4.3% for this quarter. In terms of prices, I believe the prices are transitory. Oil will be lower than pre-conflict levels when this ends. Natural gas is already down, as you mentioned. Drug and pharmaceutical prices, they are plummeting, and rent is down. We are more resilient to energy price fluctuations due to your energy dominance agenda, to regulatory efforts, and we have never sold so much energy to the rest of the world. Business investment rose at a 10.4% annual rate in the first quarter. Capital expenditures and business equipment rose more than 17%, and that is as a result of the tax bill and tariffs. Jobs related to commercial construction, factory construction, are up 90,000 since your inauguration. In the past 2 months, the private sector, as Kelly said, has added 313,000 new jobs, and those are private sector jobs, sir, including 13,000 manufacturing jobs. We have construction jobs, we're building the factories, and those will turn into manufacturing jobs. The stock market has hit new highs. The stock market lives in the future. It is seeing on the other side of this conflict, it is a strong symbol of optimism for the future. Corporate earnings are high and wages are doing well. For the tax season, we had the best tax filing season in history, which is a victory for Main Street. The average refund was nearly $3,300, 11% increase from last tax filing season, and importantly, 62 million returns had one of your 4 signature policies: no tax on tips, no tax on overtime. They reduced taxes. 85% of our seniors paid no taxes on Social Security, and the deductibility of auto loans for American-made cars. for what I believe is the most important government benefit for young people since the GI Bill, the Trump accounts. The app will be available on all major platforms tomorrow morning, and it will place the American dreams into the palms of the hands of parents and children. Nearly 6 million kids have been signed up for Trump accounts, and they will launch on July 4th, and it will be a great symbol of the 250th anniversary. Main Street prosperity, workers have seen positive wage gains. The unemployment rate remains low at 4.3%, and private sector job growth is strong. So just to reiterate, resilience and prosperity have been the marks of your second term.
It's been great. It's been amazing, actually. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. President. Iris Tao with NTV Sister Media with the Epoch Times. You've done a lot to clean up D.C. and fight crimes here. And as a lot of Americans and people from all around the world are coming to the nation's capital ahead of the major 250th birthday events here, how important is it for you to really keep delivering on these results? But also, what does it mean for America's identity on the national and international stage?
So I'm very proud of D.C. because when we came here a little more than a year ago, it was a very dangerous place, and now it's a very safe place. It's been incredible what's happened. As you see the crime numbers, we had restaurants closing up, and nobody wanted to go to a restaurant. They were afraid to walk to work. It was very, very dangerous place, very unsafe. And now it's a very safe place. We brought in the National Guard. We worked with Cash and the FBI, and Janine is doing fantastically, and Todd and everybody. And it's now a very safe city, and people are pouring in, and you see the grass is all beautiful. We put a lot of new grass in because, you know, like people, grass has a life too. And this grass, it was about a long time. But the waterfalls we talked about and the fountains are, most of them are in the final stages or fixed. People are writing me letters. People are talking about it. We have some of the most beautiful fountains in the world, and there wasn't one, not one, that worked. We had 29. Out of the 29, not one was worked, in addition to the reflecting pool, which is even, you know, that was the big one of them all, but that was a disaster. So with all of that, and this place is looking beautiful. I rode through it yesterday, where the fences are down. The homeless aren't staying here any longer. We're helping them out, but we're not, you know, we just can't have them in the nation's capital. And when foreign dignitaries come in, they're saying that first thing they say to me, this place has really changed. They saw that it was going down. Our whole country was going down, just like D.C. was going down. And as you know, the restaurants were closing up. There weren't very many restaurants, and now they're opening up. You can't get a space, and everyone's going out to dinner, and they're safe. And we have the national security, and we have the National Guard, and we're going to keep them. You know, I want to, by the way, just in case I mentioned, keep them. And don't lower the number either. So somebody said, oh, are there less? I said, I hope not, but don't lower the number if you don't mind, okay?
We're going to surge this summer, too. Yeah.
They look great. You know what? They give people, we took out 5,000 criminals, hardcore criminals. By the way, 90% of the crime is calculated. They count 2% of the people do 90% of the crime. That's a great number. Because when you get rid of 2%, 2% you can get rid of. 90% you can't get rid of, 2%. So 2% create 90% of the crime, 91% actually, to be exact. And we moved 5,000 people, Todd, out of here. These are career criminals. Many of them came over from the last administration through the open border, the ridiculous open border, no vetting, nobody knew who they were. They came out of prisons, they came out of, they're drug dealers, there were people from mental institutions. And Washington, D.C. is now a safe and beautiful place. And it's only going to get more beautiful. Yeah, please.
President Trump, thank you so much for having us in here today. What are your thoughts? Why do you think that Joe Biden is trying to sue the Department of Justice, former President Joe Biden, to have his tapes that he did interviews on blocked from the American people hearing them? Do you think that he's trying to hide something? And maybe Acting Attorney General Todd Blanche could comment on if they will countersue and release those tapes to the American public.
Are you talking about it with respect to his book?
With respect to his memoirs.
I'd like to see it. I don't know. Maybe there's some constitutional reason. I don't know. I would like to see what he has to say, because We can never allow what happened to this country to happen. The man was grossly incompetent, and the Democrats, I call them the Democrats because the policy is so bad, but they came very close to destroying our country. We can never let it happen again, and I hope that you're able to produce that. I think it would be a very interesting reading for people.
Mr. President, Iran wants control of the Strait of Hormuz. Would you accept a short-term deal that allows Iran and Oman to control the strait? And would they have to open it immediately, or would you be open to that happening over a period of time?
No, the strait's going to be open to everybody.
And who would control it?
It's international waters. Nobody's going to control it. We're going to watch over it. We'll watch over it, but nobody's going to control it. That's part of the negotiation that we have. They would like to control it. Nobody's going to control it. It's international waters, and Oman will behave just like everybody else, so we'll have to blow them up. They understand that. They'll be fine.
Mr. President, thank you. How much economic pressure do you feel to get the Strait of Hormuz open?
Well, you have to say, the United States has so much oil that we are an exporter of oil. So we have plenty of oil. We're very lucky. We're blessed with the greatest piece of land in the world from that standpoint, and we have more than anybody else. And now when you add Venezuela to it, we have, I think, 64% of the world's oil. And we're getting along very well with Venezuela, by the way. It's being run really beautifully. The big companies are moving in. It's going to be amazing because it's also, like us, they're very blessed in that sense. But we have natural energy that no other country has. We have more than anybody else. So it's really a world problem because most of the world doesn't have that. And we're making it available. During the closing, I don't know if you've seen some of the satellite pictures, boats, hundreds of boats lined up. It looks like, I used to say, the Long Island Expressway with cars. They're lined up and they're coming to Texas, Louisiana, they're coming to Alaska to fill up their boat, their big boat. Some of them are really big, 2 billion gallons, even bigger than that now they make them. They make them up to 4, Chris, I hear. Now they make them up to 4. The 4 are now the big ones. Used to be the 1s. Now it's 4 million barrels of, think of that, 4 million barrels of oil in one boat. But they're lined up and they're right now heading to Texas, and they've already filled up and they've gone back. In addition to that, you have a lot of boats, you have about 1,500 boats in the strait wanting to get out, and at the right time we'll release them.
But the American people, sir, are seeing higher gas prices.
Yeah,
now it's come down a little bit, but it's still $4.45.
Oh, it'll come down a lot. It'll come down to where it was before. We had it when I was in Iowa. We had we're driving by and we saw gas stations. $1.90 a gallon, $1.85, $1.87 were the 3 that we saw. We had it down in some places below. Now we can't help but California where they charge so much tax that you lower it and they charge tax. They've got to straighten the act out in California. But we had oil, we had gasoline down to a very low number. I think we'll be hitting that number shortly after that whole excursion ends.
Does that give you more urgency?
But regardless of anything, as Marco said better than anybody can say it, you can't let them have a nuclear weapon. They would use it instantly. They wouldn't think about it. They would use it instantly. I've gotten to know them. They would use it instantly.
Does that give you more urgency, Mr. President? You've said that you're in no rush to make a deal, but with gas prices that are still high across the country, people are paying more for travel. Does that give you more urgency to make a deal? Why doesn't it?
Well, I'll tell you, the primary urgency I have, I said this, it wasn't covered properly, but the primary urgency is that we can't let Iran have a nuclear weapon. But at the same time, we have a tremendous amount of oil, gas, coal. We have tremendous amounts of energy. We're blessed with something very special. Those prices are going to come down. They're going to come down fast. I think that you'll see, actually, Todd, I think you're going to see lower prices that we had even before we did this. Now, I knew there'd be an increase. I said, we have a choice. We don't have to do anything in 2 years or 1 year or 2 months because Iran would have had, if we didn't hit them with the B-2 bombers, Iran would have had a nuclear weapon within 2 weeks from that date because they were ready to go. And if they had a nuclear weapon, it would have been used already. It also would have been used had I not terminated the Obama deal, the Iran nuclear deal, as we call it. That was in my first term. Had I not terminated that, they would have had a nuclear weapon a long time ago. I would say it was a guarantee that it would have been used. And It would have blown up Israel. It would have blown up the entire Middle East. And that's never going to happen. Yeah, please.
Mr. President, on the shooting
on
last
Iran, would you be comfortable with Russia or China taking their stockpile of highly enriched uranium, and have they offered to do
No,
that?
I wouldn't be comfortable.
Mr. President,
That would not make me comfortable.
is the U.S. considering easing sanctions on Iran to allow Iran to sell its crude to market?
No, we're not talking about any easing of sanctions or giving money. No sanctions, no money, no nothing. We have control of money that they claim is theirs. We'll keep control of that money. And when they behave properly and when they do what's right, we'll let them have their money. But right now, we're not doing that. And it's one thing is not contingent on the other.
Mr. President, on the shooting last weekend, it came barely a month after the third assassination attempt against you during the White House Correspondents' Dinner. What was your reaction when you first heard about the latest shooting, and what gives you the courage to really keep doing your job effectively without thinking about these threats every day?
Well, I can't think about it because if I thought about it a lot, I wouldn't be a very good president. I wouldn't be here, probably. I'd be up in some room with a locked door and say, just leave me alone. So I can't really think about it. If it's just something that it's a sad part of life. It's a dangerous business. What I'm doing is a dangerous business. And they say, and look, we have been maybe the most consequential, but we certainly have been one of the most consequential. This group has been a very consequential administration. And they say if you're not consequential, you don't have so much problem. If you are consequential, you do. So you have to look at that. But it's a shame. It's a very sad fact of life. Look, anybody in office, not only in this country, in other countries too, but when you are a consequential president, your life is in grave danger. I knew that. Yeah.
Mr. President, how would you characterize the current state of the talks with Iran? I guess if it were a football field, what yard line would you be on?
Well, I think we're doing very well. I think starting to give us the things that they have to give us. And if they do, that's great. And if they won't, then the man on my left is going to finish them off.
Is there a time frame in your mind?
What?
Is there a time frame in your mind for?
I mean, it happens quickly. The problem is every time I mention a time frame, for instance, I see, we've been doing this for a few months. Vietnam lasted 19 years. Korea lasted 8 years. Afghanistan lasted many years. They were all many, many years, and we're into it for a few months. And I read about you people like you. What's taking so long? We're in it. We lost between two big wars, Venezuela and Iran. We lost 13 souls, 13 great people. Met the parents, great people. And it's a terrible thing, but 13. If you look at the war casualties and the deaths in wars from Vietnam and all that, they lost hundreds of thousands of people in numerous of these wars. We're very cognizant of that. We want to lose very few. We want very few to be injured. We're very careful. But war is war. War is dangerous. But we've lost 13. I saw the Democrats took an ad putting in the 13 people that were lost. And when you look at hundreds of thousands of people that were lost in the Middle East, Iraq, all the different wars we were in, we have done an amazing job. With that being said, I hate to lose 13. I hate to lose one, but we've been very capable. I mean, when you think of it, we took over Venezuela in one day. We have done a similar job, but we said, well, give them a little chance at the request of somebody that we greatly respect from Pakistan, the Field Marshal and the Prime Minister. They've been great. They asked us, would we pause the war for a little while because they'd like to, so we'll do that. But we had them beat. They're, no better now. We could close it out very quickly. If we can do it in a different way, that'd be good. If we get everything we want, but we could close that out very, very quickly, and we may have to. I don't think so, but we may have to.
Mr. President, ask about the World Cup, if I could. The U.S. spent a lot of money getting the World Cup here and increasing the infrastructure. Does the economic benefit outweigh the cost?
No, the World Cup is great. It's the most successful they've ever had, ticket-wise. It's they've never had anything that sold so quickly. It's amazing because it's the United States. You don't think of benefits? I call it soccer. It's just easier to do because we have football and they have 2 footballs, right? They call it football. But most people never thought they'd see anything like that. The World Cup, it's turned out to be the most successful World Cup from the standpoint of what's happening. than they've ever had. Yeah, please.
Thank you so much. Rowena Ortiz with Turning Point USA. I have one question for you and one question for Vice President J.D. Vance on fraud. What's your message to the New Jersey leaders pushing back against ICE operations at Delaney Hall?
About ICE?
Yes.
Or about NICE, as I call it, NICE. The NICE facility. I'd love to change the name, call it NICE. They do a great job. And it's all paid for protesters. You know, you can see by the signs. The signs are all made by the same beautiful factory. It's a printing plant. In fact, I'm thinking about using it. They do such a nice job. These aren't protesters. These people are fake. They're all paid for. And I will tell you, Tom Holman and that whole group, and now Mark Wayne is so incredible. Mark Wayne, do you want to just respond to that? Sure. We run the finest facilities anywhere in the world of their type. But we have some horrible killers. We have killers. We have guys that have murdered numerous people in there. And these are the people they're trying to protect. There's nobody that runs a facility like we do. Mark Webb, please.
Yeah, it shows this radical left Democrats' priorities when they decide to go out and protest a detention center where we're housing rapists, child predators, murderers, drug dealers, and they choose Memorial Day of all the time to go protest something that they say that that it's because they're on a hunger strike when there was only a handful of individuals that was refusing to eat because they want their ethnic group or their ethnic right food. Well, they can go back to their country and get whatever food they want. The fact is, we're giving them the calories they want. This isn't Holiday Inn. We're giving them sanitation. But for the Democrats and the governor, like Governor Sherrill and Senator Kim and Senator Booker, to go out and do something like this of all the days is very frustrating. And we see Antifa signs are literally out there. The local police literally refusing to respond. They barricade it, not allowing our employees to come in and out. ICE has to go out there, remove the barricade, and then you have one of the senators complain because he got splattered with a pepper ball. I'm sorry, you probably shouldn't have been there.
You know, one thing I'll say about that, the local police, I know a lot of the New Jersey police, they're phenomenal. They love us. But they're told not to do anything.
That's right.
They love us. They love him. They even love me a lot. And I'm in New Jersey a lot. It's great. I mean, I think it's a great place. It's got a group of people running it now that are having a hard time. But they really like this administration. They love this administration more than any administration they've ever had. And they're thanking me all the time. And, you know, I see those guys going up and down the Jersey Turnpike with their big, beautiful hats on. I say, I'd like to look like that someday. You know, they're great. No, these are great people, and they love him, and they love ICE, and they love the Border Patrol, and they're not allowed to talk to anybody. It's like, but it all comes from the top. They have to follow orders. They want to keep their jobs.
Mr. President, are you expecting Congress to pass a federal gas tax holiday?
A gas tax holiday?
Yeah, to suspend the federal
Well,
gas
it's something we might talk about. Let's see what happens over the next week, 2 weeks. A lot of good things are happening.
So President Trump, the Knicks game next week?
No, I was invited to I was going to go on Wednesday, but they closed it out very quickly. They're great. And Jim Dolan's a great guy. He's, as you know, owns and in charge of Madison Square Garden. He's having a good year. Boy, what a team. They win all their games. They have some great players. I think I'll be going to one of the games. Yeah, I was invited by numerous people and Jim, and I think I'll be going. It's great to see it.
President Trump on election fraud. President Trump.
The Knicks have really suffered for years.
What's your prediction?
They're doing right now.
President Trump,
Would you accept an agreement with Iran that just calls for further talks on the uranium, or
No.
is the only option in your
the
mind
basics.
one
No,
for?
I would for some of it, because it's a memorandum of understanding for speed. One of the things that will happen is the strait will open immediately. But it's got to be perfect. I'm not going to do this. I didn't do this to get a crummy agreement. The worst agreement ever signed was by Barack Hussein Obama. What a horrible agreement that was. It was a setback for this country, for the whole world. The Middle East would have blown itself up. No, I would like to have the countries we were talking about, with Saudi Arabia, UAE, Qatar, and the others, we would like to have them immediately join and Steve Witkoff is working on that with Jared and some others, but would like to have them join the Abraham Accords. It'll be historic if they do it. And I think they owe that to us, to be honest. I think, because that really would be a tremendous sign. And I think those countries owe it to us. Steve, are you going to get them to sign?
We're definitely pushing it, Mr. President.
I'm not sure we should make the deal if they don't sign. You want to know the truth? If they don't sign to join the Abraham Accords, I don't know that we have countries in there already. UAE, great countries, bold countries, and it's turned out to be so good, so effective, and so we're requesting strongly that they join. It'll be great. It'll be great for Saudi Arabia. It'll be great for Qatar and Kuwait, the whole group.
So the Iran deal might be contingent on more countries joining the
I don't know.
Accords.
I don't want to say that. I'm not going to give you, what's contingent, what's not. I can say that we can make a good deal right now, but maybe not a great deal. And if it's not a great deal, we're not making it. So, because we can make a great deal with this guy right here, and but it's it's a lot nastier. Probably wouldn't go as quickly. We wouldn't be talking about as quickly, but it would be foolproof. But I think we're doing very well, Steve. I think we're doing pretty well in terms of the negotiation, but we'll see. If it's not going to be a real deal, because Obama had that horrible JCPOA, whatever it was the worst deal. It was a path for Iran to have a nuclear weapon very quickly. Years ago, they would have had a nuclear weapon. We might not be here talking about it right now. They would have had a nuclear weapon. And frankly, Obama picked the wrong country. He should have picked another country. I won't tell you what it was. But he picked the wrong country when he picked Iran. But we have things understood now with Iran. It's been nasty. They've lost their leaders. They've lost. And it really is regime change. We didn't set out for regime change. But by the fact that we're dealing with a totally different group of people than we were at the beginning. And frankly, I find them to be much more reasonable. I actually find them to be smarter, but I find them to be much more reasonable. This is regime change. One regime is gone, another regime is gone, we're dealing with the third. Pieces of it, because some of them are gone too. And I find them, I think, how can you have a stronger regime change than that, So I do find that. I'd like to thank you all very much. We're doing great. Our country is doing fantastically well, and this group of people is outstanding. Thank you all very much. Thank you very much.
All right,
All right, so President Trump went for, they were a little bit late, but they still got on. But some interesting tidbits came out of this. One of the things that I have been kind of intimating as I've been talking to you, and he kind of said it again when he was talking about the midterms. Somebody said, what do you think about the midterms and all this stuff going on? I don't care about the midterms. The President of the United States looked at this reporter and said, I don't care about the midterms. That should tell you right there. Everything else you heard today, the whole thing you saw last night with Paxton, and we don't know what's about to happen with Iran. We don't know what's going to happen with Cuba. But the President of the United States says, I don't care about the midterms. And I look at that personally and go, then why should I care? Let the man cook. There's obviously a plan in place. We don't know what that plan is, but it's such a secondary plan that the media doesn't, the media doesn't know either. The media doesn't know, the rhinos don't know, the Democrats don't know, and President Trump is making sure you know, I don't care about the midterms right now. Actually, he didn't say right now. He said, I don't care about the midterms. I found that to be extremely interesting. Let's hear what Ducey is saying here. Hold on.
Last night's result in Texas, where he put his thumb on the scale for Ken Paxton, and he won, unseating John Cornyn, as proof that right now the politics of the Iran war, if the polling is bad, it is just temporary. Something else that he said, And it's very interesting that Steve Witkoff is at the table there because Steve Witkoff and Jared Kushner have been leading the Iran negotiations. This is the first time that this group has gotten together since the U.S. launched new strikes against Iran. They said it was defensive. The Iranians said it violated the ceasefire. But President Trump said that as they come closer to a final deal, he is not going to trade the so-called nuclear dust inside Iran, the enriched uranium, for lower sanctions. He is not going to take sanctions off the Iranians. He just wants them to give it up. And he says, because we saw a Truth Social post in the last few days where the president said if they're not going to let the U.S. take it or destroy it on site, another country is going to take it. Those countries cannot be China or Russia. Something else the president talked about is something that is hard to miss here near the White House campus. All the bullet holes that are still in the glass and in the concrete at a gift shop across the street from this weekend's shooting where a crazy guy who thought he was Jesus Christ had a very negative interaction with the Secret Service that Todd Blanche says is proof there needs to be a new ballroom. President Trump said this is a dangerous business. He thinks this keeps happening because he is such a consequential leader. John.
I like my baby Jesus not to have a 9mm. I don't know about y'all, but that guy was crazy, crazy, crazy. But in any event, before we go, I got to show you something. This is going to excite some people and then leave some other people kind of scratching their heads going, what am I looking at here? So I showed you earlier, let me see if I can show it to you now so you can see it again. That big arch in back of the White House, that giant arch is where they're building the arena and octagon for the big UFC fight as a part of the Freedom 250 celebration. And so all kinds of things are happening. That's where, right there, that's where they're going to be putting the stage. Those are trusses. They're going to be hanging lights over it. It's going to be a crazy event. Well, as a part of that, I don't know if you've ever gone to Freedom, what's it called here? Freedom250.org. I urge you to go to freedom250.org. The website is it's called a dynamic website. There is so much stuff on here that I can't really show it all to you because it's all over the place in regards to it. But in addition to the UFC fight, you guys may know that the Indy race is going to be happening there, but I did know there's a whole bunch of other stuff as well. Let me see if I can shrink the site because it's a massive site. This may work. Let me see this. All right, so this is the Freedom 250 website right here, celebrating the triumph of American spirit. And as you go down, there's all kinds of different stories and everything else. But if you go up to, if you want to, if you go up here to celebrations, this is pretty interesting. All right, so the celebrations you have, as we're looking at this now, let me bring this up here. 15 ways to celebrate. You have the American Heroes Student Art Contest. You have the Great American State Fair, which we're going to come back to. You have the Teddy Roosevelt Presidential Library. You have Rushmore 250. You have big ships coming in, the International Naval Review and Sail 4th 250. You have Salute to American 250 celebration and fireworks. Then you have the IndyCar race, street race in Washington. Then there's a Freedom 250 mobile museum that's going around. And then there's something called the Patriot Games National Competition. But I want to bring you back to, go back up to the top and talk to you about this one, the Great American State Fair, which is really funny because at one point I promoted an event called the Great American State Fair, but I'll let him use the name. But I clicked into it and it says, join with neighbors and friends from every state in the union. I guess this is where they're going to have it. And patriotism means participation, follow the movement, freedom, everything else. Now, this is where it's kind of head scratchy because the Democrats are going to be left not able to complain too much about who the performers are. Check this out. Those of you my age are sitting there going, oh, this is back in my day. The lineup for the Great American State Fair is here. Martina McBride, country artist, you know, she sang the song Independence Day, amongst other. Young MC, Bust a Move, that was probably him. CNC Music Factory, I forget their song. Vanilla Ice, Ice Baby. And then, of course, Millie Vanilli. I think it's only going to be Millie. Vanilli is dead. So I don't know who the other part is going to be there. But Millie Vanilli, the Commodores, absent Lionel Richie, Morris Day and the Time, Flo Rida, Brett Michaels from Poison, and many more. And this is going to be going on the mall from June 25th to July 10th. And here's all their pictures. It's going to be kind of hard for the Democrats to complain about this. What are they going to tell? They're going to tell Young MC, CNC, Millie, the Commodores, Morris Day, Flo Rida, don't go. You can't perform at the Trump Nazi party. You can't do that. Whoever put this together is kind of weird because those are really old artists. So you're going to hear them saying, oh, these are has-beens. And then they're going to attack the artist. Say you can't play there. You shouldn't be playing for President Trump and America. I don't know. I think that'd be quite the party. I forget the song CNC Music Factory had, but a lot of people used to dance to it. Vanilla Ice, you know. Millie, without Vanilli, I don't know how they're going to do the. But the one that interests me most here is Morris Day and the Time. Back in my day, I used to love me some Morris Day and the Time. I used to think, whoa, I thought his music was really cool. It's a fun event, obviously, but I'm sure they're going to fill in more artists as we go. So we shall see. Watch the heads explode. This just got announced while he was talking, I believe. Today's the 27th. Yeah. So this got announced today at 11:29, and it just happened to drop. You going, SB?
Yeah, I'll be there. If not, I'll be there online. It looks like a stellar lineup. I love it.
Oh, Morris Day at a Time, Flo Rida. Oh God,
We're dating ourselves.
Yeah, because it's funny. Even knowing who some of those acts are, we're all like, yeah, I remember. I remember at the fraternity house. Yeah, I remember this. That's really weird. Vanilla Ice. When was Ice Baby? I don't even know how long ago that was.
Man, 80s, something like that.
Oh my gosh,
like half a century ago. I think it was.
That's crazy.
Yeah, the XP is it's full of all the stuff that was going on with Trump in the meeting. But I just want to say that President Trump says business with China is profitable again. The media can argue all day, but Americans notice when factories move, markets rise, and money starts flowing back into the United States. Winning.
Absolutely. Oh, did you say winning?
We're going to win so much, you may even get tired of winning. And you'll say, please, please, it's too much winning. We can't take it anymore. Mr. President, it's too much. And I'll say, no, it isn't. We have to keep winning. We have to win more. We're going to win more.
I just happened to glance down at the trending topics, and the trending topics are all those acts.
I see Vanilla Ice. Yeah.
So people are like,
Ice, baby.
Oh, it's funny. Whoever is doing this stuff knows exactly how to trigger these people, and they know exactly what they're getting. I'm surprised Kid Rock wasn't on there, but who knows? He and John Rich, maybe they'll book them later.
Yeah.
That is too much. And I don't know if you guys follow what's going on with Twitter and how they're basically going after all these people who are phonies and posting other people's stuff. And I'm looking at a title. SB, I don't know if you can see it on yours, but I'm looking at Mario Nawal, who's a big giant influencer who got his money taken away, and then Elon unfollowed him yesterday. And you look at the title of what he's talking about right now. It says Tulsi Gabbard quits and MAGA splitting.
Yeah. He hasn't learned his lesson.
No.
Yeah, apparently he had a little feud. He said something about Elon's Starlink stuff or space program, and he apologized. But Elon had nothing to do with it. He unfollowed him. But it's all about the money with this guy. He's got what? How many followers?
Like
Something like
4 million.
3.5 million. 3.5.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's making some coin. But I only follow him just for a couple things. I mean, I no longer post stuff that he puts because a lot of it is he flip flops like a fish out of water. And
why would you even, after everything we saw last night, that's not true. That MAGA's not splitting, and sure enough, that's where they jump to. It's so weird, so weird. I guess, but when you're fully pot committed like some of these people are, there's no way out. Hey, hold on. Let me show you this. I'll come right back, SV.
Okay.
As Democratic Senator Cory Booker pays a visit there, we're told the senator may speak to reporters anytime now. We're going to monitor for that. Plus this.
You'll see there are large numbers of LAPD officers in riot gear arriving on the outskirts of campus here. The protesters, the encampment.
What they're talking about there is the Jewish students and everything. But yeah, Cory Booker's going to be talking. I found out that they were lying about that too. That the food was bad because it wasn't ethnically correct. You're lucky you just wasn't some beans and rice and some old bologna. Okay, if you go to jail, they're not calling in a waiter or something. It's insane, absolutely insane.
I thought that ticker at the bottom that you just shot. I was reading it real quick. I thought it said NICE facility. It was at New Jersey ICE. I'd love to see NICE. They got to start calling that. Trump actually called, didn't he say that?
Yeah. He was trying to. He was going to change the name of it actually to NICE. That was one of the troll things he put out there. Oh boy, just crazy.
All right. Well, another short show.
Yeah, another. What are we at? 3 hours and almost 3 hours even. All right. Thank you, sir. I'll talk to you.
Right.
Bye bye. All right, where do we got here? Let me go to Super Chats and talk. Prediction, Trump signs executive order equals SAVE Act. Now Congress ratifies it. Boom. He should just go ahead and sign it at this point and call John Thun's bluff. Absolutely. Again, he said it, not worried about the midterms. So I'm not going to worry about it. If he's not worried, I'm not worried. Chiosop, it's hard to debate a misinformed person. They live in an alternate universe. They do. And Dems primaried all the black Dems with white Dems. I got to tell you about that. It's all over the news down here in South Florida. Debbie Wasserman Schultz got drawn out of her map where she was. And all this stuff about we got to have black representation. She decides now she's going to run in a black neighborhood. I'm going to talk to you about that tomorrow. I'm like, wait a second. I thought you told me white people weren't supposed to be representing black people, but now you want Debbie Wasserman Schultz to go ahead and run in a black neighborhood. These people can't make up their minds. They're just complete morons. Leland, Barry, think President Trump should invite you and family to White House as much MAGA news you put out. Thank you. There were a lot of people thanking me today. I'm like, thank you guys very much for noticing. Thank you. Chiosef, when is it? Bring your favorite Nazi to work day. Oh my gosh. Pekovsky, what's Pekovsky say here? Yard work is yardly. Okay. And I got a question from George here. Barry, is the $200 billion, the DPA Section 3 issued by Trump for energy dominance last month? Curious minds want to know. I looked that up for you. Hold on one second. G. Fisher, Narfall is an upcoming Tucker, straight up clickbait clown. I guess they had. I have no idea why these people have done what they've done and how they continue to just push stuff out, and they don't really care whether it's right, whether it's wrong, or anything. I was just asked by, what's the name here? George, about the $200 million. I looked it up because 200 billion, I'm sorry. I just looked it up. I put his exact his question in there, and it says, no, the 200 billion figure does not refer to a DPA Section 303 action. Defense Production Act Title III mechanism typically provides targeted financial guarantees or grants for domestic supply chains and critical minerals rather than a broad $200 billion programmatic fund. So I hope that explains it for you. Let me see. My phone just went off before I go to after party, if that was SP or not. 1 second. Nope. Okay, that's good. All right. So I will talk to you guys probably tomorrow. As you can hear, my voice is going to have to do some vocal work. But anyway, talk to you guys soon. Maybe tonight. I'll let you know. It's early.